Welcome back to the live lounge, everyone, here at Kartmasters. We are running with stars of Kartmasters in live lounge this year. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, and we are very excited to welcome our next guest, which is the Mercedes F1 Sporting Director, Ron Meadows. Ron, thank you for taking the time to join us. I know you're here with the Argenti kart team, and it's been a really busy year for you. How does it feel now to be on the summer break there with Formula 1?
Well, my summer break started at 6 o'clock this morning, which means I cannot do anything to do with Formula 1. Yeah. So instead I'll do it with karting. Yeah. But no, it's great. It's a shame we haven't got the weather this weekend, but I'm sure the racing's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I was going to say first weekend in a little bit of time without being at a Formula 1 track and straight back to the kart track as well. How does it feel to be back to a kart circuit again?
Well, obviously we have the Argenti team, and I don't get to see a lot of the races, but whenever I get a weekend off, I come along, and I'm always looking at the live timing to see how we're doing. It's I certainly get my fill of motorsport. Next weekend I'm off to Knock Hill. I have one son who's racing in JCW Mini, and then we got the F4 team, which is competing.
Yeah, of course, with the British touring cars. I want to start, if we can, by taking you back to your first experience with motorsport and where that began for you. And I know that may have been inspired by karting, but if you can just tell us a little bit about where it all started for you.
When I was growing up, I used to live close to Alton Park, and some school friends said, come along and have a look, see what you think. And I actually went to a superkart event, which was the Martin Hines era, and all of those guys. And I remember I was sat in a old wooden grandstand over the start-finish straight, and this kart, every time it came by, made this movement, and I thought, I couldn't understand it. It wasn't in the superkarts, I think it was in the 210s or something. And eventually, I noticed the guy had one arm.
Wow!
And it was, and I thought, I need to meet this individual, because obviously it moved around, because every time he pulled the gear, no one was holding the steering wheel. And these things were rapid. So anyway, I went into the paddock, and the chap was Dave Hockley, and he's a bit of a legend in the gearbox stuff. And he wouldn't let anyone help him lift his cart on the trolley at the time. So he'd put it on his hip and lean it over, then skip along and put it on. And these things must have been 150, 200 kilos each. And I thought, wow, this is some commitment. This guy, and he's in the back of a van, working on it himself, driving it himself. I thought, this is for me.
Wow. And that just inspired you, I guess, to want to understand more about how everything's working and then get involved in working behind it?
Well, from then onwards, obviously, I was at school, and I used to go to Alton Park quite a lot and help some of the teams. And by the time I was 14, I was running a Formula Ford at weekends for somebody. And then when I left school, I went to Tom Walkinshaw Racing, which at the time was probably one of the biggest teams in the world. But I did all the touring cars with the Jaguars and the Capris and the RX-7s eventually. I went there, and when I was, I think by the time I was, when I was 18, I was running a touring car in France on my own.
Wow.
There was a guy called René Metsch, who was a very famous Paris-Dakar winner. I used to run the Paris-Dakar once he retired. And we had another driver called Jean-Louis Schlecher, and they were fantastic. I've got many stories for them.
Yeah, I can imagine you do. And of course, since then, it's been a very long and successful career so far for yourself, working with the Mercedes Formula 1 team. But you also, as you mentioned now, have the Argenti kart team as well. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about where that started for you and what inspired it?
That started at the end of 2019, where my son Oliver at the time was 15, going on 16, said he'd like to start karting. And I thought, we karting with our two older boys, Michael and Matthew, in the early 2000s. So he thought, well, you've got to give them a go. And I thought, well, the best way to do it is to control it yourself. And about the same time, Michael said he wasn't sure he wanted to carry on racing cars. So at that point, we set up the kart team and the F4 team. Oliver only actually did karting for a couple of years, and in his first year, he came to Kartmasters, I think that was 2020. think he finished 11th in the final. It was the COVID year.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything was really tricky for karting then, but it was one of those few sports that really put the effort in to keep going. And at that point I was here and I thought, wow, I need to keep doing this. It's good fun.
Yeah, and I imagine, I think this event is very much an example of what you said there, how karting fought through those times. But I think a great setup, isn't it? Having a kart team directly linked with an F4 team, has that helped the F4 team be able to get some new drivers in and to a good level straight away?
Well, we were very fortunate, mainly because we, obviously, my connection to Mercedes F1 and being involved in the driver academy as well, and also I know all the other people who run academies and different F1 teams, that we've been able to take drivers from all over the place, really. And we had a team out in Europe with Kart Republic, with Kimi Antonelli, Alex Powell, Waipan Kui. And Kui now has just started to do some F4 testing with us. He's stopping his karting journey, moving on to cars. It's just really interesting, is it? And also, we can try and help them progress. You know, we had, in the end of 2020, Daniel Gunchard did a race, one-off race for us, and we went to the International Trophy in Portimao, and we won that with him, and we had Morgan Porter with us for the full year. We won the British Champs and Senior Rotax, and then went on to win the International Trophy. It was like, wow, what a year. And then we took Daniel for this 2021, and everyone knows what happened there. He just won everything he took part in, and that allowed me to find the funding for him to move to cars and do F4, and he started his car journey now.
Yeah, and doing a great job when he's been in the seat. I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned your connection there with the driver academy, and I think Mercedes in the last couple of years has grown a really big presence, particularly in karting and the junior formula as well. Top 3 in F2, F3 Freca, and then a great presence in F4 and karting. Where do you think that the growth of that has come from?
I'd like to say I've been pushing it quite hard from my side, because generally a lot of the academies are quite blinkered and just look at the European OKJ stuff, and not everyone can compete there because it's very expensive. Obviously, teams are very selective. To get the best kit's tricky, and I think the racing here and the quality of the driver here is every bit as good. I'm not saying they're not good. They're obviously incredibly talented, but if you took the best here and put them there and vice versa, I don't think you see any surprises. You know, it's if you look at what Callum Bradshaw did when he went into a world champion, Joe Turn, he's been so unlucky on a couple of occasions to not be, and history shows that Britain and the UK create some incredible cars, as possibly the best if you average it out.
And how impressed have you been with the standard here at Kartmasters? Because this is very much a central part of British karting, and the winners from here have gone on to do fantastic things in recent times, and of course in the past as well. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, previous winners. But how do you think the standard is now? It's at a really exceptional level.
The standard's super high. The standards of the teams is really high, you know, and you've got to give a shout out to the teams, your Strawberries and the DHRs and the KR Sports. You know, a lot of these kids at the sharp end wouldn't get the opportunity without the support of these teams helping them and bringing them on. So, you know, a lot of people think the teams is all about generating an income. I think the guys who run these teams, and I include myself in that group, is that we put as much into the drivers and helping them out and giving them opportunities they've never had before. And I think we have to do that to make sure the cream rises.
And a couple questions to end on then. How have you found running the team, the amount of work that goes in? I know you said you can't get to every race weekend for obvious reasons, but when you are at them, the amount of work that goes in, I think it's a credit to all the British teams, as you mentioned there. It's a huge amount to get the results that you might do at an event like this.
Well, I have Danny Sweeney running our team. He does a fantastic job. He's a workaholic. You have to slow him down. And we've got Curtis Gregory, who's chief mechanics of the team. Basically, he looked after Gunchard and all his success. It's I try not to meddle too much, because it's no one needs a boss coming in and saying, I wouldn't have done that, because I know how tricky it is, and I wouldn't like it in my F1 job either. But this is not a 9-to-5 job. Suddenly, Danny, we went off to Le Mans last week to go and do the international trophy with a younger driver, and 2 days before he wasn't going. It's like, Danny, we need to go to, okay. You know, it's one of those things where you just got to be super adaptable. And he just loves it. His main thing is he just wants to be competitive. And it's probably the same of all the different people who run the teams.
And you mentioned, of course, your Formula One job there. A lot of the drivers here, or some of the drivers here, who may not be fortunate enough to have the budgets to go and race, start looking to maybe working in the sport pretty early on. You've got into a fantastic position through a lot of hard work, I'm sure. What would be advice to drivers out there that may be looking to get involved in working in the sport?
I would say don't be the driver who sits in the chair next to the mechanic doing all the work. Understand how the kart works, understand the data, get really involved. And if you're not into that, motorsport is not the job you should be going for. The best karters are the ones who know how their kart works. And can figure it out and can improve it and point things out on the kart, because it's so hectic in the day. The mechanic, there's so many things and so many changes to do, especially with this weather.
Yeah.
It's get involved, and if you get involved and you understand, I'm sure you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. I think we'll end on our question of the day, which I think we've had all sorts of answers on, but I'll be interested to hear yours. What is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Numerous, many races, but last year we had a team barbecue on a Saturday night, and we were hoping to do one today, but I think it might be cancelled. Yeah. But we had a barbecue and a pizza oven, and we had nearly 100 people there, not just my team, but all the other teams, and it was just great fun. So super competitive on track, but great fun off it.
Yeah, and I think we gate crashed that as a paddock show as well, which was really great. So great memories for us as well. Ron, best of luck for the weekend, and thank you very much for taking the time to join us. This has been the latest edition of the Live Lounge. You can catch all the episodes on the YouTube channel, and we are constantly live streaming all the action over on Alpha Live. Well, welcome back to the latest part of the Live Lounge here at Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, and joining me as we continue with our theme of Stars of Kartmasters, now another former driver of Kartmasters, someone you'll recognise from racing in GP3, W Series, and a familiar face of Formula One now with Channel 4 and F1 itself as well. Alice Powell. That was quite an introduction.
Yeah,
I tried my best with that one. I practiced,
was a good one. I like that.
practiced
You
a
can
few
just
times.
come with me all the time.
Should we do that?
Just say that.
Perfect. Welcome back to Kartmasters.
Yeah, no, it's great. And we were just saying actually before that even if I wasn't working here this weekend, I'd actually probably would have made the trip up all the way up here, maybe even in the rain to come and watch. It's one of my favourite events of the year.
So I want to take you back to when you raced in it yourself. You're mentioning just before we came on here, maybe about 2006.
I reckon
did you
was my
do it a
last
few times?
Kartmasters. Yeah, I did do it a few times. I mean, I can't really remember them because it's a long time ago, but I'm sure my last Kartmasters would be in JICA, so equivalent now would be Junior X30.
Yeah.
And I finished 4th, and it was actually a wet one. It was a wet Kartmasters, and I think Jack Harvey won. I think Jordan Chamberlain was around about there on the podium, maybe Jordan Lennox Lamb possibly as well. So some quite famous names in the karting paddock, and Jack's obviously in IndyCar now. So no, I loved it, and it would probably, even when I was racing myself, I've not got away now from us being a spectator, I just loved it because it was just that one-off event. And, the prizes were great. It was a great atmosphere. It's obviously a great circuit as well. The weather was usually pretty good, even though, I enjoy driving in the rain. And the results didn't necessarily matter. Obviously, everyone wanted to win, but there was that element where it's like, I'm not fighting for a championship. I'm just fighting to get the GP plate. So, you go out there and have some fun as well. So, one of the events of the year for me.
Yeah, I mean, you went on to race, obviously, in the F1 support categories. We mentioned there, GP3, W Series, many other categories. Would you say this is a unique event, though? You touched on it there, I think. A lot of those, it's a championship, you're fighting all the way through, but this very much a one-off, which doesn't really exist a huge amount in car racing, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, no, there's definitely not. Usually in car racing, it's just you got a championship and you're fighting for a championship, and that's nice with Kartmasters. You often see drivers sort of, you can say, come out of karting retirement. Maybe not me just yet. And they come and just do the event, and a lot of car drivers come and do it. Ben Barnacle obviously has done really well, coming back into karts or switching over for a one-off event. I love it, and as I said, it's a great event, and it's ran really, really well.
And as someone who works in the world of broadcasting now, I think one thing that it certainly didn't have when you raced was the live stream.
That
this
definitely didn't exist.
how impressed are you, someone who works in broadcasting as well now, on how this event is run as a whole, I guess, and how it's broadcast?
Really, really impressed. You know, the stream of how long it is all day. You've got all the races, and even the time qualifying. You know, you're able to now watch that, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. And yeah, it didn't exist back then. I just wish it did. But even for those people that can't make it, you know, even if I couldn't make it, I'd be tuning into the stream. And I think it's really, really good. The coverage is excellent. And as you said, it's really, really well run.
Well, you work a lot now with Alpine and their junior team. You're here this weekend working with the driver. How does that help you as well, would you say, in the stuff you do?
Yeah, no, a lot. You know, Alpine have their race her program. They've obviously got their academy, which is mainly for sort of the car drivers, even though we've got a couple of drivers in karts. But I'm here part of the race her this weekend with Alpine. I'm working with Sukhmani Kira. She's racing in the Inter Water Swift, and I love it. And it also brings me back. I actually said to Louise Richardson, who works for Trent Valley Kart Club, I said, I love coming back and seeing the kids. It also brings back so many memories of when I was racing in cadets, and you know, it's a big world of karting, and sometimes it can be quite a scary world for some of the young kids. So it's nice to sort of come back and pass on advice, and I learned plenty of things along the way, made many mistakes, and sort of learning from those and passing that on, and seeing how they progress as well. And I think Kartmasters is always a really good event for those kind of drivers to test things, and because at the end of the day, if they make a mistake, it doesn't have an effect of any championship positioning. And
you mentioned the driver you're working with there, having a lot of experience working with young drivers. How do you think the format of this event is for them? You know, 2 full-on days of quali and heats, 2 chances at qualifying, and then the finals. And long finals as well.
No, I really like how they've done the format this year with the 2 qualifyings. You know, for example, Sukhmani yesterday didn't have a great qualifying. So today, you know, she's got another chance to have a good go at bettering her qualifying that she did yesterday, which means then, you know, she'll hopefully have a better starting position for the heat. So I love the format. You know, you said long finals as well. So even if you sort of fall out of position, and you know what Kartmasters is like, you can get people sort of defending with like 5 minutes left to go, and that can really bunch everybody up, and that's what I love about the long finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And being in the F1 paddock so much now, we had George Russell send a message in. How is it seeing a lot of the kart drivers around, be it whether they're in the junior categories, working for teams, a lot of Kartmasters presence around Formula One paddock?
Yeah, there certainly is. And you know, the likes of George and Lewis, who would have taken part in this event, they know what it means, and they know how important karting is to those drivers that want to progress, to move up to the ladder, and eventually get, hopefully for them, into Formula One. And I think this is just sort of one of those stepping stones that helps them sort of learn and progress and further their career.
Well, you mentioned about the memories there. I did give you a bit of a chance to try and think about this, but I think it'll probably be a hard question to answer, as it is for the guys already. So, Alice, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
That is a good one. I mean, my memory is not great. As I said to you, I struggle to sometimes remember what I did yesterday. So looking back, my only really one, and I did do plenty of Kartmasters, has to be that wet race, as I mentioned. I think it was 2006. Chris Walker from Kart Picks, he'll have plenty of pictures. He'll be able to tell me. And I think I remember having some really great battles, as there always is in Kartmasters, and just missing out on the podium, but still getting 4th place. And I actually still have the leather Kartmasters bag that I keep my karting kit in now.
Nice.
Sat in my wardrobe at home. So it's lasted long. So that's probably, I would say, one of my best Kartmasters memories.
Something you can cherish there going forward. Thanks very much for joining us. Best of luck for this weekend with Sukhmani and for the rest of the season with F1 Academy, Alpine, and so on. And it's been great to have you up here.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
That's been the latest edition for the Live Lounge. You can catch all the interviews on the YouTube channel and the live stream over on Alpha Live. Well, joining us in the Live Lounge now is Pete Thomas from JAG Rotax. the importer of the Rotax engines here in the UK. Pete, welcome back to
Thank
the
you.
live lounge. Second
Yeah.
appearance in 2 out of 2 so far.
2 out of 2 so far,
It was
yeah.
great to have you in last year. There has been some changes in the last 12 months, so very important, I think, that we got you guys back. Rotax is very much a big part of Kartmasters, numbers-wise in particular. We'll get into that, but first of all, talk us through some of the changes that we've had here, which means now that we have 4 classes here this weekend.
Well, we've lost the traditional, what was last as mini max, and we now have micro max, which is basically a cadet size engine, and we have the Intermax, which is a sort of between the cadet version and the junior, where we had it on a bigger car. That's now on a 950 chassis, so it looks very similar to a cadet, but it is an Intermax. Less restricted than the Micromax engine, but fundamentally all interchangeable, as most things are with the Rotax product. You know, when we go from junior to senior, it's the barrel. We have different restrictions on the exhaust and the squish height. So most things are interchangeable, really. With very little fuss, you can convert the engines.
Very much an influence, I guess, from how things are being run in Europe. Would that be correct?
Yeah, we are now, other than age, we are very much in line now with the classes in Europe, which is great. We had recent success out at Le Mans, which I'm sure you're probably going to touch on. And our drivers used to go out almost as guest drivers because we used to qualify for that here in a slightly different way, but now that's a genuine class here. We can go out and compete for landing.
Yeah, well, let's touch on the European and world success. We'll start with the European stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned that would have been the international trophy.
Yes, very
recently.
Yes.
Tell us how the British drivers and
they did exceptionally well. We won the senior, as we have done in the past, but we won both the micro and the interclass as well. So that was a first. For us to go out there as drivers that are racing fully for the year and during the championship. And they've gone out there and shown everybody how to do it, basically.
Yeah. And as a nation, very much dominating Rotax around the world, I think, is the United Kingdom. First time in a little while, actually, out in the Rotax Match Challenge Grand Finals last year that Great Britain, as a team, won the Nations Cup. And tell us how that was for you, standing out on the podium.
That was fantastic. Obviously, British drivers, not a clean sweep. We don't have any electric drivers, but in the traditional powertrain, we had great success before the classes. It was great to see. So obviously, as you say, the Nations Cup was won, not for the first time. When you look at who's coming through, who has already qualified for the world, some of these junior drivers have come through from the Le Mans race. Again, we go to Bahrain with a very, very strong team again.
I mean, so going back to Portimao there, I mean, the grand finals, Henry, the voice of that, and I think he's correct in saying that is one of the biggest races in the world.
Oh, it is. It is. Yes.
Similar to this one-off event, and that makes the racing always very intense.
Yes.
But it was DD2, junior, senior, mini. I think
all the electric classes,
all British drivers won those classes.
Yes, they did.
Filled the podiums and the top tens as well, right?
It was fantastic to see. And there was a few stories. We had a lad that had hurt himself, burnt himself in the hotel, went off to hospital, came back and got second in class. He come back with his hands bandaged. Quite emotional, really, to see these, the kids at the end. We forget, 8, 9, 10, going out and giving it all, and it really meaning something. And with the senior drivers, it means something to people. You don't race all year and then go to a world final and take it lightly. It's a huge success for people, huge thing to have on your CV. As a driver, I was a world champion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have that privilege.
Yeah, no. Where do you think this success has come from then for Rotax? It hasn't happened overnight, clearly.
No.
So has this been a few years in the making?
I think it's been 25 years in the making, since the product really has taken off. JAG, John and Dean, obviously, and now Tina and Gary and everybody else that comes into that sphere to make things happen. The sealers is so competitive, yet it is so fair. If you look at the times, the qualifying times, I don't think the race has ever been closer, ever. Yesterday, we had seven teams in the first 7 positions. What does that tell you? Different engine builders, different chassis, different drivers. That's how fair it is. That's how the parity is there. We've strived for this for in excess of 20 years, and Rotax back at the factory with changing the cylinders and the development of the engine, it's made it fair. It's almost difficult to overtake sometimes because it is so close.
Yeah, and staying with European racing, for the first time in a few years, I think now, Rotax Max Euro Trophy coming back to the UK. It's going to be here, PF International, second weekend of September.
Fantastic news.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the drivers out there in junior, senior, we might see some of those just go in on a one-off basis. Right?
We have British drivers entering. Yeah, we have other facilities. We have the option to rent an E20 kart here at that round as well. Rotax and JAG are putting something in the budget to sponsor people. There is a ticket to the World Finals in the senior class only. So if people want to try the electric car and go to Europe, go to the World Finals in Bahrain, come up and put your ticket up and have a go, sort of thing. There is a chance to win a World Final ticket here in September and go to the World Finals.
And very much on a track they'll be familiar with as well. Let's wrap this up then by talking a little bit about the grand finals this year. Back at Bahrain. Very much under different circumstances.
Yes.
2020 was a tough year for all of us. Away from the sport. How's it going to be now, going back there this time? It's a great facility they have out there.
Huge facility.
Right next to the F1 circuit.
Hopefully very different to today's conditions when you look out the window.
Yeah.
I don't think the British contingent are going to have the benefit of rain to be used to. But it just seems our guys are so used to, a bit of elbowing and being able to adapt to different tracks. You find with a lot of the European drivers, they do go to one track and race at one track or two or three. British Championships, 5 different tracks. Then you come back to PF and to do the Kartmasters. I think our drivers are used to adapting, and the teams have setups. They seem to be able to go somewhere and adapt. And I think the team's side of that is a huge thing. When you've got our big teams going out with their own drivers, they can adapt and setups, and they're on that you can see it's evident. They're on that setup very, very quickly.
Is it going to be under the lights over there?
Yes, there'll be a night race as well, as it was
I mean,
the previous time.
And
The atmosphere, we all know what it's like to watch Grand Prix on the television under the lights. It looks and feels 10 times faster. I think the drivers love it. Just for A, the experience, and B, it's nowhere near as hot, which makes it a little bit more pleasant. There's obviously the humidity. But again, our big teams, they go out and they adapt to this. They adapt to it, and credit to them as well. They've stayed with the Rotax product, been associated. Certain teams have driven the product. The drivers are heading those teams, and we're very fortunate in the UK. We've got a good band of brothers, shall we call it, and the travelling circus, long may it continue.
And hopefully we can bring back that Nations Cup trophy along with a few other big ones as well. And good to see as well the British Championship is very much becoming almost a second European Championship with the likes of Craft Motorsport and so on coming over. But I just want to quickly wrap this up then with our question of the day. Last year, I know we were talking about yourself racing with Chris Rogers.
Wanted to beat Chris Rogers.
So this time our question of the day is, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory pick?
Very difficult to pick out one in particular. I mean, I think this weekend, you could safely say at 6 o'clock packing up and going home would be after this weekend. But I think it's that whole thing. I think whatever class it is, I can't pick out a drive or a driver, but I think Kartmasters brings that thing. It's a one-off. It's evident in the last 3 laps of the race. If it's tight, you don't know who's going to win. Until that flag is dropped and someone goes over the line, you don't know.
Yeah. And we have a previous winner in Rotax racing a Mercedes Formula One car as well, who sent us a good luck message. So thank you to George Russell. Thank you to Pete Thomas. This has been the Live Lounge with JAG Rotax UK.
Thank you.
Welcome to the next part of the Kartmasters Live Lounge. We've had drivers in so far. We've had people from JAG Rotax. But now we are going to get to our next guest on our theme of Stars of Kartmasters. These truly are the stars of the event, the people working here at Trent Valley Kart Club to bring you Kartmasters. Louise Brown joins us now. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. I know it's been a very busy period leading up to the event, and and the event itself. Tell us a little bit about the work that's gone into putting this event together. When did it start for you? And yeah.
For us, it probably started when the last Kartmasters finished.
Right.
We would just go through, understand what went well, what didn't go well, what we could do better. And we'll do that straight after the event whilst it's fresh in our minds. And yeah, as soon as we start planning for the calendar for next year, we start working on what it could look like and getting the regulations. So yeah, it's ongoing all the time.
Yeah. If I can jump into the minds of you all as a club, then what's changed this year, shall we say, to help improve the event? Because I know constantly it's always improving, and it only has itself to beat, really. It's so well run as an event.
Yeah, definitely. It is hard to always find something that's a little bit different to improve upon for the following year. But this year we've changed the formats of the Friday and Saturday slightly based on feedback that we got from last year and how we felt it ran last year. So we've got the two identical days with the qualifying and the heats. So that's one bit that we changed for this year. The prizes, we've bulked up even more. I think it's £36,000 worth of prizes are up for grabs across the whole event. And we've added in a marshal of the event as well to really try and give back to the people who are out volunteering and today out stuck in the rain.
Yeah.
So yeah, just little bits. It won't be anything massive, but just continually trying to take the feedback and go that one step more.
Yeah, and they truly are doing a brilliant job out there. I look out the window here from the live lounge VIP area, and yeah, it is pretty tricky out there. So that's something that you can't change, the conditions.
No.
But I know another thing, a really good screen down there for people to watch in, hopefully the sun tomorrow.
Yeah, that's obviously a new addition and has been really well received, and hopefully lets everybody from in the paddock have that extra little bit of connection with what's happening out on track.
So let's talk a little bit about your personal involvement then with Kartmasters away from the club, because you did race here yourself, and that's where the journey started for you. So take us back to the beginning, where it all started, and your time and experiences racing at Kartmasters.
Yeah, well, there's been a few. I started karting when I think I was about 10 or 11, and yeah, carried on until I was 15, I think it was, before moving into cars. But no, here I've done, I think there are about 3 or 4 years of Kartmasters over the time, mainly in Mini Max, I think it was. But yeah, no, it's always been a great event, and I loved racing here. And I just remember sort of the feeling of the crowds and all of that, walking out onto the track. It always brings that extra something that other events don't have.
And any names stick out for you as competitors that you raced against? I know Alice mentioned Jack Harvey, IndyCar racer. Anyone that sticks out for you?
Ash Sutton, who's obviously in touring cars, Tom Ingram. They might have been the class above, actually.
But they were certainly in the paddock then.
Yeah, they were all about in the paddock. And when I was in cars, Lando Norris was about. So yeah, there's been a lot of the names that are floating around. Alice was in the paddock as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite a few about.
And fans of Toka, the Toka package will recognise your name from racing in Ginetta Juniors and then G50s, British F4 you mentioned as well. So tell us about that journey and then what brought you to working here at the club.
They'll remember my maiden name, Richardson. Well, they might remember it. I don't know if I'm that memorable. But yeah, no, it was actually from Kartmasters event that got me into cars, because the Ginetta Junior Scholarship.
Okay.
The first year that was up for grabs in 2008. The prize from that is I won it and got into cars that way. So I had 2 years funded by Ginetta, which was amazing, and that all centred around Kartmasters. So really, it's kind of thanks to the club that journey started. But no, it was a couple of years in Ginetta Juniors, then in G50s for a little bit, into British F4, where I think we have Ricky Collard was on the grid. Lando Norris might have been on there once. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing journey. And you mentioned there about how Kartmasters gave you that platform. You're an integral part of the club. It's giving the drivers here a great platform for similar opportunities, would you say? I mean, we've got the live stream going on as well, so they've got a big platform to race on, but big prizes as well. that you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely, it does. We obviously would like them to stay with karting and stay with us, but we're always drivers and their careers, and what we can offer them is always at the forefront of our minds. And making sure they've got the best environment, best experience here, and that's a key priority for us. So yeah, we try our best from the prizes. Not always going to get it right, but the customer comes first for us.
Yeah, and just to end on then, you mentioned before we started that your first Kartmasters working might have been around 2011, so just over 10 years ago. Compare the two if you can, of how much you can remember. From working at that Kartmasters to now, I mean, obviously that battling for the GP pay is an integral part and what brings everyone here. It's a unique event, as we spoke about with Alice Powell, but around it, how much has the event moved forward?
I think it's always been one of the top events in the country. I'm probably biased, but I would always say it is one of the top events in the country. I think having the live stream and the visibility and getting out there more to the wider public has come on leaps and bounds, and hopefully we'll just continue trying to push that, to elevate it even further. In terms of the event, I think it's always just been strong, and as I was saying earlier, it's just these little bits that we always try to improve on. I'll be honest, I can't remember the details of 2011. I'm sure some people will be able to, but I do think it's only getting better and better as the years go on.
Well, it was around then George Russell won as well, and those drivers on the grid, on the Formula One grid, British drivers all raced here, and that's going to change to European drivers, I'm sure as well. So tell me as well, just finally, when you're now watching the racing take place, the work's been done, record entry this year as well for what is definitely one of the biggest events in world karting. How does it feel to then be sort of just letting the event run itself almost and seeing all the hard work pay off?
It is really, really rewarding, especially when you think about everybody who's here. They are volunteers, and it's all off their own steam that they're here. They're not required to be here, and just the volume of people who come and just want to be a part of it. It is so rewarding to see it happen, and we won't relax until the end of Sunday and everybody's headed home. We won't fully relax until then, so I'll come back to you on that one.
Perfect stuff. Well, I'm sure everyone's looking forward to Grand Prix Sunday, as am I. But let's end then with question of the day. I've given you just a little bit of a head start to think about this, as all of the guests have. What is your favourite Kartmasters memory, be it working, racing? What's the one that pops into mind?
It would be a personal, selfish one. But my last Kartmasters that I was driving at, actually, when I finished runner-up, that would be my favourite memory.
And standing on that podium out there, that must have been a really good thing.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Perfect stuff. I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you, Louise Brown, for joining us. We'll let you get back to work, and we'll let you all continue to enjoy the live lounge coverage, all the videos from all the interviews on the YouTube channel, and the live stream constantly going over on Alpha Live. Welcome back to the live lounge, everyone, here at Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. We are rolling through the heats today on the track, but off it, we are catching up with the stars of Kartmasters. We've had all sorts of guests today, and now we move to definitely a star in our sport, but from a social media point of view, someone you're used to seeing on the other side of the camera. So we thank Kirsty Hockley from Fuel Your Media for joining us. I know it's going to be a very busy weekend for you. 20 clients you mentioned before we came on air in total. This must be an event that is very much at the forefront of your calendar when it comes to preparation.
Yeah, I started speaking to people in about April about whether they're doing the event and what they want going leading up to the event. Just a matter of planning, because it's the 4 days, it's busy. When it's a smaller event, it's easier to kind of plan, but when it's the longer events, you have to plan way ahead and decide what content's going out on what days.
I want to talk about social media in karting. I guess a lot of people would assume that because it's where you're starting your racing career, that maybe it's not so important, but I think drivers like Joe Turney of Brandon Carr have proved that it can very much become a career in karting in itself. It's its own sport. Tell us how important social media is, and you mentioned you've got 20 clients here, I'm sure more in total. How much of an impact the work you've done with them has made?
So it's really important in the aspect of sponsors. If you want to gain sponsors or keep current sponsors happy, they love the exposure on all over the social media, and also goes down to their websites and things like that. I find sponsors love to share things onto their own social media as well, which gains even more exposure so that people outside the karting world. Also, just friends and family love to be able to see the content if they're not able to come to the events and see it. But also behind the scenes kind of things, people love to see that, and it's important to show the world what hard work has to go in to the drivers, not just on track, but also off track. And people don't also always realise the hard work that the drivers put in, so it's good to just make the world aware of that, really.
Yeah, karting has really moved forward in terms of its coverage. I think Alpha Live we can thank for that as one of the main people, and fantastic photographers out there who do all sorts of events away from it. So how do you, as someone who does social media, then shed a light on the other things? Is that what you say is most important?
Yeah, I think it's important to just keep showing the behind the scenes things. I've noticed there's been a bit of a move in social media recently, and it's not always the on-track content that gets the most engagement. People are moving towards the behind the scenes things, and I think people are growing more interest of what the drivers have to do to get the results, basically. So there has been quite a move on social media in general, and videos, they're becoming so much more popular. So the use of videos throughout events and leading up to the events are really important, just to get the exposure out there of what they have to do every weekend, and it's week in, week out for them, isn't it? So
yeah, and would you say it's a great time for drivers to get used to that world? Because I imagine when it goes into single seaters or something like Jeanette Juniors, Fiestas, it grows even more. Would that be correct?
Yeah. So what I've started doing with my clients recently is doing interviews with them as well. So at the end of the day, I get a microphone with them and a tripod, and I'm getting them to speak to a camera now while they're in karting, so they get used to it. Because I've seen drivers go up into the single seaters before and they have a camera in their face and they've never had it before, so they're a bit like, wow, what do I do? So I'm trying to get my clients used to that now, while, like, especially some of the cadets, and they've actually become really good at speaking, and when they move up they'll be able to just comfortably speak in front of a camera then. And also it's changing the content up a bit again, and just instead of just the on-track photos and videos, it's something else for people to engage with.
And it's a lot of platforms to keep on top of as well now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's growing all the time as well. There's a new one added in recently for people like yourself to keep on top of yet another platform. So is it important to keep updated throughout everything?
Yeah. The main ones I use are Facebook and Instagram. Some people are joining onto TikTok slowly, but the algorithms are so difficult to keep up with. It's changing constantly. But most drivers and teams just like the Facebook and Instagram, but I'm looking into the new ones and seeing what we can do to work with them ones as well.
And let's talk about Kartmasters itself then. Big event for anyone, I think, here working. 4 days overall with practice and the finals. Yeah, you mentioned about all the planning you do. Just tell us how it's been now working here at the event, and how it's changing each year.
Yeah, so the other years that I've done it, I've not had nowhere near as many clients as this. So this year it was a lot of, building up to it and working out what content I'm getting on what days, especially with the rain coming as well. I had to change it around a little bit from what I wanted to do. And it's a lot of just running around up onto the banking and then making sure I'm watching races and back onto the grid and whatever. I've got drivers across every single class, so I'm having to keep an eye on all of that. Because I'm also working with Omnia from Italy. Our businesses have collaborated, so I've got their clients as well that I'm looking after. So it's just a lot of running around.
Yeah, I imagine so. And you mentioned that brand there. That means you're working as a brand all across Europe on big championships, big events. Tell us about Kartmasters. You've been to a lot of paddocks now, I'm sure. How is it coming to this paddock? How does it stand out for you as one of the ones you enjoy the most working at?
Yeah, I really enjoy Kartmasters. Always look forward to it every year now. Like I said, I start talking about it in April, so it's a massive build up, and then yeah, it gets to the event. It's tiring, but it's really exciting to work at, and especially now working with Omnia, and they've got their clients, and we've got people from worldwide coming to race that don't always race in the UK. So it's exciting to see new drivers coming here to give it a go in the UK, especially in the wet. It changes it up for them a little bit. Some of them aren't so used to the wet driving, so yeah, it's good.
I think we should end maybe with, a tip. There's going to be a lot of the drivers, parents, maybe watching on teams from this for this weekend and in karting in general, be it a club or national level. Give us a tip maybe, or a couple of tips of where people get started if they don't have a presence in social media from a racing aspect. Where do you get started? How do you go about it if you're not in a position to maybe get some assistance with it?
So what I've done with some people that haven't got social media but they've wanted to start building it up, I just start with the basic Facebook and Instagram page and just start slowly with race reports, how they're getting on, and you just have to build it up quite slowly. Make sure you're targeting the right people. If you're targeting to get sponsors, maybe follow some businesses that are likely to engage with you, and just keep targeting the right people with the content. And then you can build it up to start creating videos and stuff to suit the target audience that you've gained from the start. So.
Perfect. And I think we'll end then with our question of the day. You mentioned you've done a few Kartmasters now. If you could pick out one memory, your favourite Kartmasters memory, Kirsty, what would it be?
Kenzo Craige winning. Can't actually remember what year it was. It 2020, I think he won. He was with Ambition, and I was working with them, so that was really good. So yeah, enjoyed that weekend as well. But hopefully I'll have some clients winning this weekend as well.
Hopefully there's a new one after this weekend. Well,
Yeah.
Kirsty, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate all your time and your tips as well. I'm sure it's going to be very useful to all the drivers.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to the live lounge. We're well into the second day of heat racing, but here we're going to talk to another of our stars of Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, and alongside me, Paul Hardy, someone who raced here at Kartmasters many years ago and is now back with his team Xcel Motorsport, bringing some drivers to conditions that they definitely have never raced in before. So we'll get into all of that in a sec. Paul, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us. I want to start by going back to your time racing here at Kartmasters.
Yeah.
You had that experience as racing at the top level, at national level. What was it like then coming to do Kartmasters?
Yeah, I mean, Kartmasters is always a great event. I feel like it's always got a lot of hype around it. Everybody kind of naturally wants to win because it is obviously just a race where it's you either win it or bin it kind of attitude. It always kind of creates a little, sometimes carnage, but always a great racing. Everyone, yeah, it's just great around the paddock. Usually when the sun's out, it's a little bit better. But obviously today it's a little bit different. We've got a lot of rain and but yeah, it's still good atmosphere and everyone naturally just kind of, everyone's going all out. You always kind of see a lot of people come back for Kartmasters.
Yeah.
It obviously has that typical vibe where, as I say, people who maybe stopped racing for a few years want to come back. They want to win it. They want to have that chance to obviously be champion. But it's a great event.
Well, let's talk about the when you did race it. So yeah, you did some of the Rotax classes, Mini Max and KF3 as well, which was a fantastically competitive class back at that time. I think it was 2009. You said you.
Yeah, 2009. I mean, there was the likes of.
There was very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, there was probably the likes of like Jake Dennis, who's obviously just won the Formula E Championship. Alex Albone.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some very good drivers in it that period.
Yeah, and how was it racing those guys? 2009 round here.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously, naturally the level is obviously really, really high. It's but yeah, really good. It just kind of shows also the level of UK karting and obviously that era, certainly that I was racing against. So many people have gone on to be successful in professional racing drivers and carried that career forwards, which is always good to see as well.
Yeah, some on the track, as you said, you're very much a big part of the sport in the feeder series and in karting as well. Tell us a little bit about where you are now with your team Xcel Motorsport.
Yes, I mean we're basically, I mean we've been operating now for just over 10 years. We originally started as a karting team. We've then built up through the years. We started with F4 then in the UAE. I think it's 5 seasons ago now. So we've had a good run in the F4. We've won drivers and teams championships in that. We then also went across to Spain. We did the Spanish F4 Championship, and then now continuing with the UAE Championship. Next season in F4, we're also expanding into the regional as well. And then from that, this year, we decided it was a good time to expand the team a little bit more, start with our European karting team. Obviously, the drivers coming from the UAE, it's extremely important. Everyone knows they've got to come from there. They've got to raise the bar. They've got to step out into the European field and ultimately kind of take that then back to our UAE season from there. So it was kind of the natural progression for us as a team. All of our drivers were kind of asking for it. They all wanted to come. They all want to obviously improve and develop. So it's been a really good step forward for us.
Yeah, and UAE Motorsport's in a very good place. Obviously, it's where the Formula One season ends, along with Formula 2. You've got the likes of Hamda, Al-Khabaisi, Al-Khabaisi doing very well in F1 Academy, constantly on the podium there. So how's it been working with those drivers and bringing them into Europe? I'm sure that there's more hunger for it than ever over there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's great. I mean, to be honest, I think the whole kind of COVID situation actually helped the UAE motorsport scene massively because they kept everything going. Of course, the weather's amazing in the winter, so that then opens up, instead of going for a wet, rainy testing day, for example, in the UK, people can come across, do a 5-race program and race literally in good weather, a race against the best drivers, best teams in the world, and obviously prepare themselves in the best way.
Yeah, that Formula Regional Middle East UAE F4 Championship, strong British presence over there as well.
Very strong.
Taylor Barnard doing really well.
Yeah.
Tell us about the drivers you got here this weekend, because I know Henry was telling me we have some drivers here that have never driven in the rain before, and I think that comes from your team.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, we've certainly got 2 drivers this weekend who literally have had wets on for the first time. Never driven in the rain before, which is certainly an experience for them, but they're improving all the time, getting closer and closer to the pace. Not having the easiest time, but yeah, ultimately they're doing a really good job. They are getting there. And then we've got some other guys within the team who are still not as experienced as the UK guys in the wet, but they're kind of midfield at the moment, so they're doing a really good job given their experience in the wet in general. And of course, at Round PFPF is probably one of the most difficult tracks in the wet, so certainly in the world. So I think, for them to be where they are, I think is really, really good.
Yeah, coaching drivers when they're in that position, how do you go about the process? Because it's extremely difficult.
It's difficult. I mean, we're in a good position where we've actually got 2 British drivers with us this weekend as well. We have James Lowther and Senior Rotax and Morgan Porter and Senior X30. So the drivers have got a good reference. They've kind of got the data, the camera, video, etc. So they can see everything that they need to do. It's then just a case of putting that into action and just developing from there and just keep working at it and just keep ticking away.
Definitely a chance of some big results there with those guys in the team. I want to ask you just quickly before we wrap up about the team, where do you see it going now over the next few years? What's the short-term plan?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, now certainly for next year, the plan is for us to move into regional, to Formula Regional, which is going to be a good step forward. From there as well, we'd like to then move on into F3. That's our ultimate goal. We work with Yaz Heat Racing Academy, which is all basically backed by ADMM, which is essentially Yaz Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. They're out there who are basically putting together packages to help UA drivers carry on their motorsport career and ultimately take it up the ladder. So with their help as well, it's kind of been a good kind of stepping stone for us to expand the team as well.
A big and exciting future, it seems. I'm sure very rewarding taking drivers from karting into single-seaters. Just want to wrap up then with our question of the day, Paul. I know you didn't have all the results you wanted here, so it might be a difficult one, but what is your favourite memory at Kartmasters? Yeah,
to be honest, I mean, probably my favourite memory was winning the GP plate with one of our drivers, Jamie Day, in I think it was back in 2019 in the Minimax category. That obviously kind of always stays in the back of your mind every time you come here. And also kind of, I think one thing special about this race is when you see the drivers come from the back to win the race. There was a period before that when I was actually working with with AIM Motorsport, the cadet team, when Key and Jewis came from literally the pit lane to win the race, which was also a pretty spectacular moment. So that always stays with me as well.
That was my first weekend commentating live.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one, to be fair. So that was a pretty special moment. So that was good.
Probably still the best drive to this day. Thank you very much, Paul, for your
No
time.
problem.
I know you've got a lot to get on with. You can catch all the interviews in full here at the Live Lounge on the YouTube channel and on social media, and we'll be live streaming throughout all today and tomorrow over on Alpha Live. Well, welcome everyone to the Motorsport UK Kartmasters British Kart Grand Prix 2023 here at PF International. A very wet PF International, as we can see out the window here up in the Live Lounge for this weekend. Last year, we concentrated on winners of Kartmasters. This year, we are going with the theme of Stars of Kartmasters. I'm Chris McCarthy. I'm going to be a host throughout the weekend, and we thought we'd kick off with someone who's going to only be free probably this morning throughout the rest of the weekend. Commentator, Anthony Jordan. Thank you very much for joining us, DJ.
You're welcome.
You're about to go down into a very wet paddock
Yes.
for the second time this weekend.
Yes.
We're going to talk to you a little bit about what you've been up to all around in commentating, but tell us how it's been so far, being back. I mean, the coverage is extending all the time, isn't it, with the Alpha Live team? Tell us how it's been so far.
Well, so far it's been the wettest Kartmasters personally I've had to deal with. I think the last time we had a Kartmasters like this, 2012. So very long time since we've had a proper wet one. And there's a lot of drivers here as well who have never raced in wet conditions that have been coming from Dubai. So we've got an international grid, 27 nations being represented this weekend, 305 entries. So the biggest entry we've had and the wettest weekend. So far, out of all, this is the third one that I've done now, it's probably the most exciting one that we've seen.
Yeah, and of course, with Kartmasters, it kicks off on the Friday.
It does.
So much to get through. I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't get a chance to catch all the coverage yesterday. Tell us what they missed out on if they weren't with us yesterday.
You didn't miss out on much. It was exciting, though, still. There was time qualifying for the first group of drivers, or the whole group of drivers, and then the first of the qualifying heats. We've already seen the first of the intermediate classification points come in, so we've already got an understanding of who is quick out on track, who is struggling a little bit with the conditions. Today is going to be a different story, though. Yes, it was raining in qualifying yesterday, but today it's a full wet day. It's going to be raining throughout the whole thing. So basically what we've learned from yesterday is effectively null and void, because today is completely different racing conditions throughout all of it. So effectively, for anyone who is watching, you've not really missed anything. You can go back and watch it, but I would watch today, see what happens, and compare the two. But certainly, we've seen some rapid drivers doing like double duties. I think we've got 17 drivers doing double duties as well, which is unheard of, really, in Kartmasters. I think it was very rare that we saw a lot of drivers doing double duties. But in terms of yesterday, it was wet, then it was dry, racing happened. Today, it's just all wet.
Yeah.
Not miss much.
And tomorrow it's due to be dry as well.
Yes.
So what they learn setup-wise here will probably be of no use tomorrow as well.
Null and void again.
Yeah, but it certainly will affect the grids. Now, of course, want to get you up. Everyone can watch the event live. That's always going on. But one thing that we wanted to get yourself up, Stars of Kartmasters, and I think we include yourself in that now, DJ. Of course, when we spoke to you here last year, very much becoming the voice of British karting along with Henry. I think that's fair to say. Now that's very much becoming an international thing, and congratulations on that. I think everyone who watches karting across Europe are now hearing your voice doing the FIA Karting European World Championships, Champions of the Future. The I Am a Euro Series. It's been a very busy 12 months for you, and set to be another busy 6 months to end out the year.
Yes, incredibly. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it has certainly been a very interesting career, like I've gone with, because I've only really been in the sport for a handful of years. I did kart back in the day, but over the course of these last 12 months, it has just been thrown upon me. It's kind of all fallen down, but I've loved it, every single moment of it. Going out to Europe, seeing all the European circuits, comparing them to the UK tracks. I mean, we're here at PFI, and you get a lot of drivers come over to Europe and say, I love racing at PFI. It's a fantastic facility. And then I go over to Europe and I look at these tracks and I go, wow, these are amazing. You see the grandstands, that they look like car racing circuits. And, when you're there, it is such a fabulous experience seeing, you know, the different categories out there as well, you know, with the OK and the OKJs that have raced here in the past, only I think for 1 year. But certainly it has been an amazing experience being out there. I think the biggest thing for me is the weather. It's always sunny out there in Europe. And then we come here one weekend, it's summertime, British summertime, and it's pouring down with rain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going into those paddocks is
Yeah.
certainly an experience, and the first time you
It
do
is.
it. Huge setups with the factory teams. They did come here, didn't they, in 2018 to do the FIA stuff here, in 2017. Is this the closest we get to that kind of racing? Because in British, you do the British Kart Champs as well.
Yeah.
Big setups there. I think it's growing all the time, isn't
Yeah.
it? British karting. Would you say Kartmasters is kind of the biggest thing we get to then the FIA karting stuff?
Yeah, you are right in saying that. The similarities between this paddock and a paddock that you would see out in Europe, very, very similar. Big awnings, big team trucks as well, which is brilliant to see. When you do go out to Europe, though, it is a different kettle of fish because, yes, you have the factory teams. You've got the likes of CRG, you've got Birrell, you've got Tony Kart out there, and they're all kind of like their young driver programs in there as well. And you see them rock up with 4 Arctic trucks. That's the hospitality truck. This is the team truck.
Yeah.
That's that team truck. And it's just, it is unbelievable. You are starting to see that now in the UK, which is amazing. But the biggest thing is that you still see the lad and dad turn up transit, easy up awning.
Yeah.
And that's what we love about the British karting scene as well, which is, I think, one thing that we never want to lose from the UK karting scene is that lad and dad experience, the privateer coming in, bringing it to the big guns in the teams.
And between yourself and Henry, if we can square the two things together, we're here at Kartmasters. You've got eyes everywhere between you. I think across every, you know, from Henry going out to the States, yourself doing everything in Europe. How is the level of British karting over in Europe? I mean, a lot of these guys who raced here in 2020, 2021, now doing FIA, some of them like Noah Wolf back here this weekend again. Yeah, how are we doing as a country over in Europe?
A country out in Europe, in the IAME and the FIA and the Champs of the Future, we're doing okay. We've got some drivers up at the sharp end, the likes of Kian Roberta, who himself raced and won a GP plate here in Kartmasters. You know, he's been doing really well. You know, there's a lot of drivers out there that are just in that sort of area. You've got Finn McLaughlin, who's doing all 3 IAME X30 series. He's doing Champions of the Future and the FIA. He's racing here this weekend. He's also been a thorn in the side in the drivers out in Europe as well, so he's one to keep an eye on. There are so many. They're all in the top 10, I would say. And but Henry, certainly, he's got the eyes over in Rotax as well, like you were saying. He's doing a lot of stuff out there. I think another British driver that neither me or Henry have been keeping an eye on, but he's been over there in America. You've got Joe Turney, who's been doing absolutely fantastic. Joe, regular, he's actually here this weekend. He's not racing, he's just with some of the teams. Brandon Carr is another one as well. He's been dominating out in America, and he dominated here. I think he started at the back of the grid.
One from the back.
He was a bit lucky with that one. I think an exhaust fell off in the pre-final, which means his rear tyres were destroyed. So I think he was lucky in that aspect. But still, to go from the back of the grid to the front in Kartmasters is certainly something we've not seen many times, if before.
And I know you've got a busy rest of the year coming up, which might end with an appearance at a Grand Prix as well. So we look forward to following that and very good to have you and Henry back doing the paddock shows and things like that. It's become I'd say it's a regular thing now, isn't it? The paddock shows and being replicated in other areas.
Well, Chris, you know all about the paddock shows. They started here at Kartmasters with yourself and I. So, they've certainly taken off, haven't they, the paddock shows? People loving them. I think the paddock show from Thursday went out within like a couple of hours. It already had like 1,700 views and it was like, you know, it's fantastic. It's great to actually involve the people in the paddock, you know, seeing behind the scenes, because you don't get to see it, do you? You don't get to see it at all. It's one of those, you look at them out on track on the live stream and you think, wow, they're just like, you know, they're rock stars, they're doing this, they're racing drivers. You go into the paddock, no, they're just kids. They're playing ping pong, one of their like team mornings, or they're playing badminton out there. They just set up a little court and do that. But it is awesome to see. It's a proper atmosphere in the paddock. It's a family friendly environment, and we myself and Henry, we both absolutely love it.
I mean, we could talk all day. 2 commentators, it's pretty dangerous, isn't it? But I know you need to get down to qualifying.
I do, yes.
I'm going to end with our question of the day in Live Lounge, and that is, I think it come to a good point here because we were just talking about Paddock Show. What is your favourite Kartmasters memory so far? I know you haven't had a huge amount compared to Henry, but what is your favourite memory? What's the one thing that sticks out for you?
The one thing that sticks out to me, I mean, well, I've only had the 3 of them. And, well, 2 of them have been sunny, 1 of them's rainy. And you know what? I've actually got to say it was doing qualifying yesterday in the pouring rain, there with an umbrella, sitting there and just feeling, why am I doing this? Yeah. That's probably my greatest memory of it. But no, you've got to give it to some of the racing. I think I've got to give it to Honda Cadet last year. 20 karts battling for the race lead in the final. That was something I've never seen before. You couldn't put it on anyone. So shame to not have Honda Cadet back here this year, but still, I hope that we see something very similar this year.
I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you for having us, Anthony.
Thank you very much.
Yes. It's been great to have you up. Have a good weekend. You can follow all the live coverage on the Alpha Live YouTube channel and catch all the paddock shows as well. But for now, we're going to say goodbye to Anthony and let him go down to the paddock in the pouring rain to report on some qualifying.
Thank you.
Well, joining me in the live lounge now, someone who won a GP plate last year in Honda Cadet. I'm very pleased to be joined by Kenzo Craige here at the live lounge. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. Kenzo is alongside me. Kenzo now racing in Junior X30 and Junior Rotax. First of all, Kenzo, how does it feel to be back at Kartmasters? Very happy memories for you here last year. How does it feel now coming back to the event?
Feels amazing. It's one of the best events all year. One of the biggest ones as well. It's the hardest one to win. So, yeah, it's been good so far.
Perfect. And you're racing in the Junior Rotax, Junior X30. Tell us how that step up has been for you, jumping up from Honda Cadet.
It's been difficult. I think the pace was there from the start, but we just needed to work on our racecraft a little bit. But I think now we're getting to that stage where I think everything's coming together a little bit. So hopefully we can get the result we want this weekend.
And let's talk about what you've been racing so far this year. Obviously, Kartmasters is that meeting in August we all look forward to. But before now, you've been doing stuff in Europe as well as in the UK. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
So in Europe, I've been racing in Rotax Max Euro Series. So that's basically the European version of British Champs. And we're doing well, coming into the last round now here in September, I think. We're only 10 points away from second, so it's looking good.
So possibly you could become a European champion on home soil. How does that make you feel?
That would just be a dream come true.
Yeah. And what about British stuff as well? Tell us how that's all been going for you.
So in X30, we're doing quite well. We're sitting P7 or P6 in the points. So that's going really well. In Rotax, it's not going just as well because we had a quite a bad first round at Kimbolton. But GYG was perfect. We went from last in the grid in the final to 9th or 10th, so it was a really good comeback drive that weekend.
Wow. We had Ron Meadows up here earlier, someone you know very well. He spoke about you in his interview as well. Ron from Mercedes, you're part of the Mercedes junior team, which is constantly growing. Tell us how that feels. It must make you very proud to be part of that.
It's made me feel very proud to have a team like Mercedes supporting me with the likes of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell with them. It just is incredible.
2 drivers who won here as well, like yourself now. And what's it like working with Mercedes? Tell us how that has been for you so far. Obviously, the badge on your suit as well, part of Argenti, Ron Meadows' kart team. Yeah. It must feel very, very good.
Yeah, it's been great. They've been giving me all the support I need, helping me learn new tracks and getting me physically ready for all the races. So it's just been a really good experience so far, and I'm hoping to continue with them.
And you're also another driver that's doing the double this year as well. 2 classes, Junior Rotax, Junior Xcel. We've had 2 drivers go and do the double. How's it going so far? We sit here on Saturday afternoon. How's it going for you across both classes so far?
So in Rotax, we're going really well. We polled in our group in quali, so first pole in juniors, and then we won our first heat in juniors at Kartmasters, such a special event where the grids are so hard. So really happy with that. And in the X30, we lack a little bit in the pace, but our racing's really good. So yesterday we were able to finished P9 overall in the intermediate, which is really good considering what issues we had throughout the day.
And we've seen Ben Barnacle and Noah Wolf do the double. I mean, I guess, I know you're fighting for some championships, but what would it mean to you to win the double here this weekend?
It'd be incredible. This year's juniors, Xcel and Rotax, I think they're the toughest field that they've had in a while. So to even think about winning both of them is just amazing.
Well, let's wrap up then with our question of the day. I think this will be a pretty easy answer. We're asking all of our guests here at Live Lounge, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Last year when we won it, it was such a good weekend. I think we nearly won all our races except for 2. Won it in the pre-final and in the final. It's just amazing feeling coming across the line. We put in so much hard work throughout the year just to make it up to that moment, so it's amazing.
I mean, I know it was probably a straightforward answer, so I want to just elaborate slightly if I can. I remember you walking out, leading the Honda Cadet field, coming out, big crowd in as well. There was a lot of cheering going on. What was that feeling like coming out onto the grid, and then what was it like crossing the line and taking that win and knowing you'd done it?
Coming out onto the grid, it was quite nerve-wracking because it's the biggest race of the year and you're starting on pole. So what you're thinking about is the start, having a good start and maintaining the race. But once you cross the finish line, it's even better. It's just incredible.
And for you, that must sit as one of the races you look back on with such pride.
No. Yeah, I look back on it to this day, so it's amazing.
Well, I asked this question to Jesse Phillips. I'm going to ask it to you as well. Are we going to get another double winner this weekend?
Hopefully, yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you to Kenzo Craige for joining us. You can watch all the interviews, including the interview with Ron Meadows, on the YouTube channel and on the social media pages. And the live stream is on Alpha Live along with all the paddock shows. Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of the Live Lounge here from Kartmasters. My name's Chris McCarthy, I'll be your host. Our theme this year, which you'll know now if you've been watching some of the other interviews, is Stars of Kartmasters, and sat alongside me someone who is definitely a star already, despite the fact they're only racing in the Water Swift and Micro Max classes. Jesse Phillips, welcome to the Live Lounge. It's great to have you. First of all, tell us, what you're racing in this weekend, how it's all been going for you so far.
So I'm racing Mini Max and Mini Water Swift Inter, and it's going along quite well. Qualifying today hasn't gone quite well in Micro, so yeah. But the heat in the wet, we've came from 22nd all the way up to 8th, which I think I drove really well that race. And then yesterday in both classes, it's gone really well.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about your races in Kartmasters so far. Tell us about some of the ones that stick out for you.
Well, last year I also did the double, tried to win, but my teammate did it, Riley Cranham, and I'm really happy for him that he did it. In Cadet, we didn't do too well. I think we finished 8th or 9th. But then in Water Swift, it was a really good race. I crashed at the start, but I came through all the way back up to 2nd, but I still had a nose cone, so I finished. I have no clue.
Yeah. So you've come very close to winning Kartmasters, right? And I guess it's one of those events, isn't it, where it's, I wouldn't say win it or bin it as such, but it's all going for that victory, isn't it? How does it feel to have come that close? Do you feel you've learned some things now that you can now go and maybe get the win this year?
Well, it's a one-off race, so it kind of is win it or bin it. People call it Crashmasters, so everyone's going to be going for the win. So am I. You always want to go for the win, and obviously coming that close to the win, it's not great, but this year hopefully we can do the double.
Perfect. I mean, very inspired, I'm sure, by Ben Barnacle. He did the double, didn't he? He's done it before. Only him and only one other person, I believe.
Noah Wolf.
That was it. Noah Wolf. There we go. So 2 people have done that in the past. Do you think you can be the 3rd to do it?
Well, hopefully. Obviously, it'll be an amazing achievement for me. This is probably going to be our last year in this category. So yeah, it would be an amazing thing to leave on a high.
And tell us, you're doing fantastic in the UK, but also in Europe as well. Tell us what you've been racing.
So in Europe, I've been doing the Italian Championship, which now I've won with a few rounds to, I think 1 round to go, I think. And then in the Euro Series, we've still got 1 more round to go. I'm currently leading, haven't won that one yet. But yeah, hopefully we can just get another win in Genk, and then that would be an amazing year.
How was it winning the Italian Championship? I mean, must have been great to be able to go out there racing against drivers who know those tracks very well and go and take the championship with a few rounds to go.
Yeah, especially this round here. It was a night race at South Garda, which is like the PFI of Italy. So everyone's going to be knowing that track, and I'm really proud of myself for knowing that track by the end of the week and driving it so well. And yeah, it was an amazing race to leave on a high.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about now going forward throughout the season when you leave Kartmasters here, hopefully with some GP plate, maybe 2? What else? You got good British Championship stuff and Europe stuff going on?
Yeah, so this year, my dad always asks me, like, if you could win 1 race, what would it be? It's always going to be this Kartmasters, the double, or the World Finals. So, yeah, this is a brilliant race to win. And also, this year I'm going to try and do the triple because I've won the Italians. I'm going to try and win the British, and then I'm going to try and win the Euro Series, and that would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can see why we've got Jessie in, stars of Kartmasters. Jessie, I guess we can wrap up then by asking you, you've talked a little bit about the races you've done there. What is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Probably the one which was Water Swift when I crashed. Yeah, on the first lap. Wasn't a great first half of the race. But then, yeah, after the Basenberg flag, we came through. I kept my head high. And then, yeah, when I came off, Jake was happy, and that means I did very well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was probably my favourite Kartmasters memory.
Yeah, I imagine so. Jake Walker, is it that's working with you?
No, Jake Dalton.
Jake Dalton. Oh, well, that's someone who did very well at Kartmasters, Jake Dalton. Remember him in the KF classes. Jessie, thank you very much for joining us. It's been great to have you here. Best of luck. Let's hope, for your sake, that we get another person doing the double after Noah Wolf did it last. And best of luck with out in Europe as well.
Thank you.
Flying the flag very strong for the UK. Thank you to Jessie Phillips. You can watch all the interviews from the Live Lounge here on the YouTube channel and also the live streams over on Alpha Live. Are we going to get another double winner?
Yes.
There we go. I'm very excited to welcome now into the Live Lounge someone who has raced here, a very familiar name to many in world motorsport, and now someone who is back here with a team. This is the Kartmasters Live Lounge. This year we are doing the Stars of Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, very much the star though. Alongside me, Jamie Green. Thank you very much for joining us in the Live Lounge. How does it feel to be back at Kartmasters now as a team? It was an event you raced in back when you were starting your career in motorsport. How does it feel to be back as a team owner now?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good event. It's been quite busy for me watching various races all weekend, but I quite enjoy it actually. You know, a lot in karting, quite often you have days of testing, whereas here it's quite thick and fast. It's good to have heats on Friday and a time qualifying and the same today. So yeah, enjoying the racing.
Yeah, take us back to when you did the event then, obviously on the old layouts, in the likes of Formula A you mentioned. What years would it have been that you raced?
So the last year I did the karting, I did the Kartmasters, which was 2001, before I went car racing. So yeah, I think I finished second in the final that day, won the pre-final. Yeah, that was the last time I raced here properly. Came back and did a bit of X30 3 years ago whilst I was still racing in DTM, just for some fun, to keep myself sharp over the winter. And then since I've not raced, I've set up my own karting team and now here as a team boss.
Yeah. And you mentioned about coming back to it as well to keep sharp. Very much a good event for that, isn't it, Kartmasters? How was it for you when you were racing? Was it that event you really look forward to on the calendar?
Yeah, I think you always get a little bit of extra nerves at like these one-off races because you know that's the only opportunity that year to win the Kartmasters or get the GP plate as it is now. Whereas in a championship, I was always a bit more chilled out because I know it was over 6 rounds. You've got to be consistent. It's not that one opportunity. It just feels a bit different when it's a one-off event.
Yeah, tell us some of the names you would have been racing against back then as well.
It's hard to remember because it's over 20 years ago, but my main competition with people like Chris Rogers, Mark Litchfield, Mike Conway, that kind of era. I was racing against Hamilton, Rosberg, Kubica, people like that in Europe. Yeah. But the Kartmasters, it was those sort of British guys that were the competition.
Yeah. people who are here now with teams as well, like
Yeah.
Mark Litchfield.
Yeah, still in the paddock.
So you're racing against each other.
Same as me, they're passing on their experience and that knowledge.
So racing against each other now, but albeit in a different way, in a team way. Let's talk about the team then. When did you set it up? What inspired it?
So I came back to karting to do some fun races myself. Then my kids wanted to race, so I started taking my kids karting, just did it myself.
Yeah.
Had some mechanics help, and then being so sort of experienced, and only you have one way of operating when you've done something for 30 years now. I'm used to looking at details, data, video, watching the drivers. And so I thought if I'm doing that for my own kids, it makes sense to pass that on and work with other kids as well and help other kids. So we've ended up sort of growing the team with my own kids in the team.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got a driver running in the top 10 in the IAMA Euro Series. Isaac Phillips is racing with us. We've got other guys in the team that are new to karting that are developing really quickly, racing in the LGM series, for example, to get experience. They're not here with us this weekend, but the team's growing nice and steadily. And we've got more and more sort of JGR karts at the front. We had pole position today in Junior and Water Swift, so we're going in the right direction.
So the team is accelerating pretty fast then, I think it's fair to say. Growing a strong presence out there on track in British karting and European.
I don't think there's any higher level in the UK, well, in Europe, to be honest, but at least in the UK, this is one of the biggest and hardest races you can do, because in the British Champs, you don't necessarily have teams from abroad taking part because they're doing their own domestic series and Euro series, whereas because it's a one-off event, we've got guys from Dubai and other teams here that we wouldn't normally have, so I think the level is really high this weekend. Yeah, so to get pole in both classes, we're obviously really, really happy with that.
Tell us about the challenge that the drivers have out there. You went through it yourself, but Kartmasters very much has continued to move forward, hasn't it, as an event? You raced in DTM at a high level for a very long time. Tell us what the challenge is like for these drivers starting out their careers at an event like this.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think it's just a little bit more pressure. I think that one-off race per year, and it's just a big event, really, and this is like the home of UK karting. So it's kind of like that peak of the season when you want to perform, and I think that just puts a little bit more pressure on the drivers to deliver. Even the top guys feel that. So I think that's what's special about this event, really. It's a great circuit, and it's nice to see. I came back. I hadn't been here for about 20 years. I came back to watch the Kartmasters a few years ago. I think it was the last time Ben Barnacote raced and won.
Okay,
Don't know, 19 maybe it was.
And
it was just quite nice to see how healthy the sport looks, just as an outsider stepping in, having not been involved for a long time, how professional the paddock is, the teams, the circuit's improved with the bridge. Paul Fletcher's so passionate about the karting and he's created this. And I just think it's fantastic.
A great platform for them to learn on, to then go into GT single-seater racing. A great competitiveness like this gets them a really good...
Yeah, and you see that now. We're starting to go and race abroad with the team, doing the Euro Series, the IAMA Euro Series and the World Final. And if you can be in the top 6 here, even at a club race, you will be near the front in Europe. Like, the level of driving here is so high. The competition, especially at PF, is top. It's world class.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to talk just a little bit more about the team. What's the plan for yourselves going forward? You mentioned you're moving into Europe. Is it to expand on that further?
Yeah, my aim is to pass on my knowledge and experience and develop the drivers. I'm in a good position to guide drivers and parents through motorsport, through karting, develop their skills and guide them into car racing as well. So I enjoy it. It's just what I know. I've done it for 30 years. I'm passionate about it. And I just want to help drivers be as good as they can be.
And for your kids as well, I guess their ambition very much to move forward.
Yeah, I'm not sort of hell bent on my kids being racing drivers. If they show a passion and a dedication, then I'll support them. But I'm certainly not dragging them along.
No,
I'm not trying to live something that I didn't do. I've had a good career. I'm happy and satisfied with what I did. As long as they're happy doing if they want to do it, that's great, and I'll help them. But ultimately you have to be outstanding to make a professional career in racing. So
Yeah.
I more than anyone know how hard that is and how it's a very small percentage that actually can make it.
Yeah, and this is one of the first big challenges I guess you come across as a driver, which you touched on there. I think we'll end then with our question of the day, which is, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Well, it's probably not about me in the race. It's because I didn't win it, probably.
Yeah.
Second, it isn't a standout memory. But I think coming back in 19 to watch the race as a non-karter and just see how healthy the sport is, what a brilliant thing Paul Fletcher's done here, how that's dragged talent through into Formula One. There's so many talented British drivers in like world karting and motorsport. And when I was karting, it was all Italians. You went abroad, the Italians were so hard to beat. And I think now, probably mainly due to this circuit that Paul has created in this facility, has pushed and given the opportunity for British talent to grow. And that's just heartwarming and nice to see as a Brit.
Yeah, I think the results from Rotax and IAMA Euro definitely reflect that. Jamie, it's fantastic to have you in the paddock with your team. Best of luck for this weekend and for the rest of the season. And yeah, we look forward to watching the team maybe even bring home a GP plate. Let's see how it goes. But you can catch all that racing. The live stream will be on Alpha Live, as are all the Live Lounge videos and the paddock shows as well. Welcome back to the Live Lounge, everyone. We are continuing to get guests in to join me in the Live Lounge here at Kartmasters as we continue with our theme of Stars of Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. Alongside me, Aiva Anagnostiadis. Did I get that correct?
Yeah,
Perfect. Perfect. We're off to a good start. Great to have you, Aiva.
Thank you for having me.
Aiva, you've come over from Australia. This is your first time racing in Kartmasters. Tell us about your journey to this point, I guess, which led you to come and race in Kartmasters. What attracted you to come and do the event?
So pretty much, we've been racing B&L, and I came testing here with Sean for one day, and he just threw me into it. So now we're here. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Did you know much of the event before?
I knew the track. Everyone talks about the track at home, but the event, not really, to be honest.
No, I mean, so tell us a little bit about your racing back home in Australia then. What were you up to back there? How did you get on?
At home, competition-wise, here over in Europe and here is obviously a lot harder and a lot better. So a lot of Australians come over to race to get better here, and then you go home and you do really well. So yeah, I love racing at home. I'm still racing at home, but coming over here to learn more, I guess.
And you're racing in the senior categories. Very, very competitive out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's a big step up from even just seniors at home. So we're learning a lot and slowly making progress.
Australian motorsport as well, in a very good place at the moment, isn't it? With strong presence in Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3 as well. And a lot of people with that moving over to European racing. Is that one of the things that decided to attract you over to race in Europe, would you say?
The main thing is probably the Alpine Academy, the Race Fair Academy. They've kind of put it up, and I'm really happy they did because I really enjoyed it. Yeah, that was the main attraction. I think we've done some racing overseas the past couple of years in Vegas, and people have come and run IAMA Worlds, but doing a full series wasn't really on the radar at the start of the year. So now with the full series of B&L and doing little bits here and there, yeah, it's been good.
And let's talk about the Alpine Racer Academy. We had Alice Powell up earlier talking about the program. Tell us how you joined up with the program and what it's done for you as a driver.
I didn't really know anything about it. We got an email telling us that come over to the Alpine factory and we're going to tell you all about it. So yeah, Tom Williamson, my manager, really has helped with that. I think he got this up and running to start with. So yeah, it's been fun.
How was that going to the factory?
It was insane. It was like a little kid in the lolly store.
Yeah. So getting to see up close, I guess, how motorsport is run at the top level. We had Ron Meadows in for Mercedes earlier as well. I imagine that's really helped put a platform up for you and get some help as well? Because Alpine have a great team there, don't they?
Yeah, it's put a platform up and it's created a really great support system, and it's given us a bit more motivation as well, as to like, you can do this, so go for it.
And how has it been developing to racing here in the UK? I mean, I used to cover B&L. I know the weather sometimes in Genk and stuff like that isn't great either. It has a forecast of its own. But how's it been getting out there with the drivers here in the UK? It's very much an international event now. I think, were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I honestly thought it was just going to be a bit of like a British
One
race
Australian
meeting.
and then loads of Brits.
Yeah, but obviously B&L has been a big stepping stone. The first round was a bit, how you going? And then next round we've made a lot of progress. This weekend, it's just a bit of a learning weekend. After getting told how big it was and it's the biggest meet that they've had, it was a bit intimidating, but we're doing it.
Yeah, and raced with Dan Holland as well, 2-time winner himself. Big awning, isn't it? 19 drivers in there. Has that helped, having a lot of drivers in the category with you?
Well, they've got a lot of drivers up the front, so it's obviously helping me quite a bit. They're awesome. They were welcoming. It was the first time we went in there, so yeah, they've been a great support.
And tell us about the rest of the season as well for you now. Moving forward throughout this, I imagine this is going to really help move you forward in terms of development, racing over here in the UK. And then from here, you'll be back for Rotax Euro or B&L as well?
I go to B&L next week. Racing over here has really stepped me up at home. I don't know, it's just, the drivers are different. You don't know any of the drivers either. So going home and implementing all of this, it's really improving my driving. Rest of the year wise, I've got B&L, and then it's just play it by ear from here.
Would you like to stay racing over here? Is that going to be the plan from now? Now you've had a taste of British karting and European karting in general?
I think we'll definitely be back, just because of the competition, and it's making me way better. So hopefully we're back.
And as a driver yourself, have you got your eyes on anything for the future? Obviously, Italian F4, things like that are really developing quick. F1 Academy as well. Have you got anything that you have got your eyes on to want to race in?
Definitely F4 in the coming years. I'm still 15, so it's slowly getting there. To be honest, I want to go to F1, but you know, the F4 is the way to go there. So hopefully we can just keep going up and up as every step.
Well, Alpine have some great drivers currently racing in F3 and things like that. So all the best to you. I really do hope we see you sticking around in European karting and in single-seaters as well. We must finish with our question of the day. How do we tackle this one? We've been asking all our guests, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory? You only have about 2 days to look back on. So I'm going to change that for you slightly, Aiva. Okay. I want to ask you, what was it like first coming into the paddock, Thursday morning, practice, all the awnings up, getting out there on the track for the first time, on this circuit that everyone talks about at home? What was that like?
It was really exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time, to be honest. I kind of walked in and I was like, whoa. Yeah. We drove into the pit at the back and I was like, oh, this looks quite small.
It's a long drive, isn't it?
Yeah. I was like, oh, it looks quite small. And then he's like, oh, no, you're in the next paddock. I was like, oh, there's another paddock. Yeah, there's a lot of people here. But yeah, no, it's been great.
Yeah. Perfect stuff. Well, best of luck for Grand Prix Sunday. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Part of the Alpine Racer Academy. We had Alice Powell earlier, so if you want to check out that interview, you can on the YouTube channel. And we are streaming all the races, Paddock Live. It's all going to be going over on the Alpha Live YouTube channel. Welcome everyone to the latest edition of our live lounge here from Kartmasters. We are continuing with our theme of Stars of Kartmasters up here in the live lounge. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, and alongside me, the man who was recently named the Motorsport UK Young Driver of the Year, Marcus Littlewood. Marcus, first of all, congratulations on winning the Young Driver of the Year award. You were the only kart driver there for people watching. I was there as a judge as well. How did it feel to be crowned the Young Driver of the Year. We had car drivers up there. You were the only kart racer. How did that feel?
Yeah, really, really special, to be fair. We've been working really hard over the last 2 years at college in Loughborough, and also working really hard on my driving as well. So, yeah, it's been, it was really big relief when I got it right on the day. But, yeah, no, it was really fierce competition against all the car drivers, because they know a lot, and I'm sort of the underdog in that situation. But, like, yeah, no, it was a really good day, and yeah, I was really happy to come out on top. Yeah.
Well, on behalf of everyone in karting, thank you. We getting a kart driver winning it was what, as a community, a sport that everyone was rooting for. Obviously, part of the Motorsport UK Academy. You touched on it there about the 2 years at Loughborough College. Yeah. How's that been for you, that journey?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think the course is a really good way to showcase yourself, because you've got all these days with iZone driver performance, Porsche human performance, so you can really showcase yourself as a driver, your fitness, and also it gives you a bit of leniency with the 2 weeks off as well, so you can focus on your driving, work experience and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been really good few years, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah.
And well, you're not just here, of course. The academy, one of the reasons that we arranged this was to speak about that, but you're here racing in Kartmasters. How many times have you done the event now?
I think 6 times.
Yeah.
Don't hold my word on that, but I think it's
People lose count. People lose count. Yeah, 6 times. And you're in the senior X30 class this year. Let's go back to the first year you did Kartmasters. When would that have been?
2017.
And what class? You were in the Minimax.
Minimax, yeah.
And that was a good year. That's really not my memory. That's good. We just spoke about that before. But tell us, first Kartmasters, what was the experience of it like, and the race itself?
So yeah, 2017, I didn't really know what to expect. Obviously, I was quite new to Minimax as well. We ran my dad ran a little team called Spirit of Senna. So
I remember.
Yeah, it was just a little sort of dad and lad team. We turned up, not expecting really anything, and had a really good weekend. Managed to come third in the final somehow, but yeah, no, it's really, really good year, and yeah, I was happy about that. Yeah.
And how's it been racing in the event since then? It's constantly growing, isn't it? We're at a record number for entries now. The coverage has expanded massively. I think us two sat here doing this interview as an example of that. How's it been following that, and throughout your karting career? How's it helped you develop as a driver?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, the first year getting a third place is very hard to live up to. So I haven't quite managed to get on the podium again, but last year I came 9th, so we're getting there. But obviously, senior X30 is massively fierce grid. There's like 20 drivers that could probably win. So yeah, no, each year I'm just trying to develop myself as a driver to get to the top. But you know what these weekends are like. It's an endurance event, and you've just got to try your best, and it all comes down to the final, really. So.
And we come into this now as halfway through British Kart Championships, if I'm correct. Of course, you've been racing in that as well, and doing very well. Tell us a little bit about the season so far.
Yeah, taking it round by round at the moment. We've got 2 rounds left. Currently sitting, I think, 3rd on drops, so it's quite close. But yeah, we had a really good round at Shennington last time. Had 2nd in every race, so really good points all. So yeah, I just hope to keep it that way.
Yeah.
But Rower and Larkall next, so yeah, two tracks I really like. So I'm hoping that we can sort of get the same sort of results, but of course you never know what can happen. So we'll see.
I'm racing with the J team now as well. So a great team there who have developed from what used to be a TKM team only to now doing the stuff they're doing in X30 and so on. But a lot of people, I guess, would agree with me that follow British karting, that you were very much seen as an underdog sometimes, but you've now managed to win stuff like the Motorsport UK Driver of the Year, and going on to take podiums and wins it at British Kart Championship level as well. How does that make you feel? Must feel very proud as a driver.
Yeah, I'm extremely proud, because obviously me and the team have been working really hard. Obviously the team have got lots of experience, of course, with Danny Curl in the British Kart Champs, and also they mechanic for him in the World Championship. So having that sort of expertise around me is really developed me, and we're chipping away with everything we do just to try and get me up the front. And yeah, so far so good. It's working really well this year, so hopefully we can carry that on for the second half of the season.
Let's talk about this weekend then. Kartmasters, everyone comes here to win. That's going to be the case for yourself, I'm sure, as well. I think you proved you can perform under pressure. I don't think that needed to be proved, but certainly you did when you won the Young Driver of the Year award. You're here to win. I imagine there's no other result wanted than that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, definitely here to win. I mean, top 3 would be good, but I mean, that's what we're rooting for. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going until I, well, hopefully get a win. But yeah, it's not going to be easy, but yeah, we're getting there. So yeah, I really want that win.
The grid's very tough, isn't it? What do you think it takes to go and win this event? You've come close. What do you think it takes to go that extra step?
It takes a lot of focus. You've got to keep your focus throughout the weekend. Your fitness, everything has got to come together. It's all about that final. So if you've sort of lost your way in the heats, you've got to try and bounce back for the final, because it's all about that final race. Anything can happen. You know, you just got to keep chipping away at it and see what happens, really, because it can all come down to last lap, last corner, really. So yeah, just see what happens.
Before we come to question of the day, I must say it's been really nice for me personally to see you develop as you have. I remember racing at tracks like Wilton Mill in the club championship with the Spirit of Senna team, and to now be a front runner, a leading driver in the British championships, where I think it cannot be argued that nationally this is the highest competitive championship at X30 around the world. What is the plan for you now going forward? Now you have Young Driver of the Year. I know you're doing work down with iZone. Well, what's the plan for you now?
So obviously, yeah, I'm working full time at iZone, simulator place in Silverstone, and yeah, so I'm hopefully looking to make the step up to cars if I can next year. Hopefully, like Radical SR1s or something, if I can get the funding, of course. But yeah, no, definitely try and make the step up to cars if I can, but if not, the karting I still thoroughly enjoy it. So yeah, I'd love to.
Well, best of luck for that. Congratulations again. We'll end with our question of the day, which you might have answered for us, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
I think it's got to be 2017. Just the first year in it, like getting a podium, can't get much better than that. But so far, so good this year. I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah, no, I think it's got to be 2017. Just first year in it, and getting a podium was really good.
I want to expand on that then, because we did kind of have the answer before. What was it like? I know your dad, like you said, put a lot of work in. You do this event as a team, not just as one driver. How was it coming in to the paddock after and celebrating that with your family?
It was it was sort of different, because like we weren't expecting it, and everyone was like coming up to us saying well done, because I was a club driver at that point, so like I don't think many people were really expecting it. I was more of an underdog, so yeah, no, it was really good going into the paddock after that. And
it's a big old podium. Who joined you up there?
I think Jamie Day and Kai Hunter. So
wow.
Yeah, good podium.
Very strong podium. Well, look, we'll have to end it there, unfortunately. But Marcus, congratulations on becoming Young Driver of the Year for Motorsport UK. For karting as a sport, it's something that I know went down incredibly well. So thank you for that, and best of luck throughout the rest of the season and this weekend as well. That's been Marcus Littlewood in the live lounge. Thank you for joining in. All the interviews are on the YouTube channel and social media, and live coverage will be available all weekend on the Alpha Live YouTube channel. Welcome back to the live lounge, everyone, where we are continuing to bring in guests to roll with our theme, Stars of Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, and alongside me, definitely a star of Kartmasters, Gabriel Stilp, someone who raced in this event, took a couple of podiums, but is now racing in British F4 with Hi-Tech. Gabriel, welcome back to Kartmasters. Good to have you back, and in a different sense as well. It's been an amazing 12 months for you. Why don't you bring us up to speed of what's happened since the last time you did Kartmasters?
So, first year Kartmasters, I was in Mini X30. We started off pretty good, started pole for the pre-final, I think. and then was in the lead till the last 2 laps, and then had an incident with another driver. So yeah, that put us back for the final, but the grid wasn't so big. So I think we started around 15th and then started coming through, got to lead at one point, and then with a couple laps to go, it just started into like a hack, and everyone just bunched up and it was all hectic. So I went back a few places, and then I ended up finishing 4th that year. Then the second year, I came, I don't know, I can't remember, it was 3rd or 4th. I can't remember. I had a good start. I think I started 3rd for the final. Got into the lead at one point, started pulling away, and then just started overdriving. And then went down to 3rd, and then I think it was Luke Watts was coming through and got past me. I followed him for a bit, and then he got past all Burgoyne, I think, and Stewart. And then obviously Stewart went on track but got a penalty. So I think I ended up finishing 3rd or 4th. Can't really remember. Then the last year, I don't think I had a good set of tyres. I went from practice being really fast, then to qualifying being a bit off. So in the pre-final, we were struggling a bit, and then had a crash in the pre-final. But I think I still finished 9th, but got a 10-second penalty. So for the final, we started 22nd. And we just put a load of grip in the cart to try and help me out, because I couldn't get the cart into the hairpins in the last sector. So yeah, we just put a load of grip in the cart, and it sort of all came to life and started coming through. Then when we got to the front, Brandon came from last. Obviously had new tyres, so couldn't really get near him on the last few laps. He just got away.
Well, I think that covers off Kartmasters and shows that you've always been at the front of this event, which I think is a credit to yourself. Obviously, you've won a similar event in the international final as well. Congratulations again for what you achieved there for Madcog. Let's talk about what you're doing now, though. Stars of Kartmasters, very much that now that you are out racing in British F4. Tell us a little bit about how it's been going for you, getting into single-seaters this year, racing on the Toka package as well, on ITV, live. How's that all been as an experience?
It's been a very good experience so far. Just started testing a bit late, so we're just trying to get as fast as possible, as early as possible. So yeah, we didn't expect much from the start of the year. We expected top 15, top 10, and then now we're hoping for hopefully a win or something. But we've had 2 podiums, and then I could have had a podium in one of the rounds, but messed up, but we forget about the bad. So yeah.
And very much with a good team as well on high-tech Pulsate, run by Ollie Oakes, a former world champion, someone who would have raced at Kartmasters himself many a year ago. A team that announced they have plans to go to F1 as well by 2026. So you're in with a really good outfit there. How's it been working with Ollie and the team? And in a team that's represented in F2 and F3, how's that?
Yeah, it's definitely good having an F3 and F2 team, and obviously F4. It's very different to karting, but I think it's definitely a lot more professional, like all like the workshop and stuff. Yeah, it's very good. And working with Ollie's pretty good, yeah.
Has it been how you expected so far? I know that you as drivers, you might want better results here and there, but overall, is it, have you say you're where you want to be in British F4?
I wouldn't say so. No, I'd like to be higher up, but yeah, it's only my first year in a proper car. So yeah, we should hopefully do better next year, hopefully win it next year.
And how's it been getting used to the paddock as well? You know, you're in racing live on ITV, in with a big paddock that attracts 30,000+ fans. How was that the first race you did with all the crowd there, the cameras?
Yeah, it definitely felt weird with all the people coming here, looking at your cars, walking around. Yeah, it felt a lot different to a car paddock with a lot more people and cameras everywhere. It felt different. Yeah, it felt good though.
Yeah, I think this is the closest thing we can probably get to that. But look, it's so great to see you doing so well, honestly, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the season. I know Knock Hill's coming up very soon. And I really hope to see you move forward with the high-tech team. I think they've got a really good driver in yourself. But I think Kartmasters is probably the closest we can get to that. So it was probably a good stepping stone for you. I want to end with our question of the day, Gabriel. And that is, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Probably last year when I came from 22nd to second. Just, yeah, I think it was pretty good considering I think I had a bad set of tyres. So, yeah, I think I drove pretty well in that final.
It was an absolutely crazy final, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure one you'll enjoy watching back for a number of years. Thank you very much for joining us in the
Thank
live
you.
lounge. Best of luck for the rest of the British
Thank
Football
you.
season as well. That's been Gabriel Stilp here in the live lounge. Welcome everyone to the live lounge here from Kartmasters. Our theme for this year is Stars of Kartmasters. I'm very excited, myself, Chris McCarthy, as your host, to be joined by a star with us for the first time, FIA Formula 3 driver for the PHM Racing by Charoux's team, Michael Shin. Michael, fresh from racing in your first 2 Formula 3 races in Hungary and Spa, back to back. Now you're here at Kartmasters, completely different atmosphere from the Formula 1 paddock. First of all, congratulations on getting the call up to Formula 3. I guess we'll start with that. How's it been for you jumping into Formula 3?
Well, yeah, thank you for calling me up here. Well, yeah, it's been quite a big jump because, you know, the car's a lot heavier. I have so much more power. And we race with Formula 1, which is like a really big thing because there's so many fans. There's F2, there's F1. And, you know, it's almost like being in the place you dreamed of being and you're getting to race there. So it's such a surreal experience. And, yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, particularly at Spa as well, there was huge numbers of crowds for the F3 races. How is that for you? I know you were racing GB3 before, but how was that when you're going around on the reconnaissance laps? You must recognise it, and it must just be a huge experience for you.
Well, yeah, it is. Well, like when you're driving and you're pushing really hard, you don't really notice it.
No.
But for example, when the race is over and you're on your in lap or you're on your reconnaissance lap, as you said, it's like you start to notice just how many people there are on the banking, and then be like, "Oh, man, I can't make mistakes here. A lot of eyes are on me." But you know, it really motivates you at the same time because you know you feel like you're on the big stage as well. So yeah, it's a really good experience there, I'd say.
And we had some stars of Kartmasters in Formula 3 with Taylor Barnard, Johnny Edgar, Zach O'Sullivan as well. Great to add yourself to that list as well. What was it like racing Hungary and Spa as tracks? I know two completely different tracks. So did that give you a good benchmark to go and learn the Formula 3 car in?
Yeah, I'd say Hungaroring being one of the most technical tracks of the season, it was really a good learning experience to, you know, feel the slow speed, high speed, and medium speed corners because it really had everything. And to Spa, which was like an iconic circuit, it was like I'd never been that quick on a straight before in my life because these cars, they have so much power. They go like 300 kph with a slipstream, and you know, driving a GB3 car, which is also quick, but it's not as quick. It's, you know, you really feel it, and it's that adrenaline that starts pumping. I guess
you've done a brilliant job. It's been really great to watch you. Let's talk about why you're here, because you're not in a PHM Racing by Charoux's t-shirt. You're here in a race suit because you have just come fresh from Spa. Similar conditions, very different track and equipment underneath you. Tell us what's brought you back to Kartmasters. This is your first time racing here. Tell us what was the decision, what you're here racing in, who you're with. Just bring us up to speed on that.
Yeah, well, I'm here with Mick Barrett racing in Senior X30. And, you know, the main incentive was I have a summer break now, about 4 weeks long. And, you know, to keep sharp and to work on my racecraft, I decided I wanted to do some karting. And there was really no better option than the biggest weekend in UK karting, which is the Kartmasters Grand Prix. And yeah, that's how I really got into this, really.
And from your karting experience that you do have, perhaps, how does this compare to that?
Well, I've only started karting 2 months ago, so I can't really.
I mean, before you went into single seaters, did you?
No, I didn't really do.
Didn't really do karting.
No, I tested single seaters, but I skipped a bit.
So this was your. So this is really one of your first races in karting. Would that be?
Well, yeah, this is my 6th race in the UK so far, and I'd say compared to the other tracks, this is on a different level because you have so many overtaking points, and the lap is a lot longer than for say Glen-Ugors.
Yes.
And which is like, you know, also a great track, but this is, I guess, the pinnacle of the UK karting, I'd say.
And as well as the Paul Fletcher International Circuit being a great one to keep sharp on, it's got everything to it, really, hasn't it? Similar to Hungaroring in that sense. But the format for the weekend as well, very much a test of your endurance, isn't it, as a driver? Has this been perfect, really, for an event like yourself?
Yeah, I'd say because you get so much seat time, really. You start testing on the Thursday, you got heats on the Friday and the Saturday, and you can't really get that much seat time, especially in FIA F3. So it's, you know, it's really fun getting to drive every day, go out there and have fun.
How's it been going so far?
Yeah, it's been going quite well, and although the weather's been quite changing, it's been, you know, really good racing out there, and you know, we're having great fun, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely, and with a good team as well. Nick Barrett, who have had great success here, with Ben Barnacle being one example. You must feel in safe hands there.
Yeah, you know, having seen Ben Barnacle take the double in both, you know, X30 and Rotax, and the senior with the Mick Barrett, it's like I know they have a good kart deck, you know, and all I got to do is just drive it well.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic year for you with GB3, Formula 3, Kartmasters now as well, and you've got Monza, the season finale to Formula 3 coming up. What's next for you going forward? I'm sure maybe it isn't all in place yet, but is Formula 3 where you'd like to continue?
Well, yeah, obviously, I'm going to be aiming to go Formula 3, whether it be next year or the year after, we don't know yet, but, you know, we're trying to learn as much as possible for right now and, you know, develop as much as I can before I get into that Formula 3 so I can get there and start getting good results.
And for this weekend, I know focused on development, but a result, do you reckon that you can pull one out? I mean, it's a tough test going into this, but what's the aim for result-wise, or is it more focused on development?
Well, yeah, obviously, you know, the focus is on development, but I think, you know, if we keep our nose clean, make up a few positions, we can get hopefully within the top 15, and that'll be a good result for me, I guess.
It would be a fantastic result. Michael, let's end then with our question of the day, which is, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory? You don't really have much to go on there. So let's go off. What was it like coming into the paddock for the first time and going out on the track for the first time around the PF International circuit?
It was thrilling because there's so many people here, the most I've seen at any karting event. And, you know, just having the back-to-back races and, you know, it's really just such a nice environment to be in. And, you know, being a racing driver, I can't ask for anything more than this, really.
Yeah, well, if you're going to pick a karting event fresh from Formula 3, you've done definitely the right one here with Kartmasters. So, yeah, thank you very much for being here, Michael. Best of luck for the weekend and for Monza in a few weeks as well. That's been Michael Shin in the live lounge. All our other guests, you can check out their interviews on the YouTube channel and social media pages, and live streams and paddock shows will be over on the Alpha Live channels. Welcome everyone to this next segment from the live lounge here at Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. We have the stars of Kartmasters joining us this year, as many as we can fit in today. And as we get towards the end of Saturday here at Kartmasters, the next driver we are bringing up is a star certainly in Harry Bartle. Harry, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Harry is the driver that was selected by Motorsport UK to represent Great Britain in the FIA Karting Academy Trophy. I think we'll start with that topic, if that sounds good to you, Harry. Tell us how it was to get picked to go and race in the FIA Karting Academy Trophy. Of course, all same karts, OK Junior engines, a brilliant championship in the FIA. How was it to get the call up for that?
Well, I saw the application thing on Instagram once and just thought I'd apply for it, and got picked out of 5 people. And we did all the tests and did a day in the kart here at PF, and it went well, and obviously I got picked for it, so it was really good.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. They did extend, well, they have been extending the selection process, haven't they, which included coming here. So which rounds have you had so far then? Tell us which tracks you have been to.
For the first round we were at the Czech Republic in Stilring, and the second one was in Denmark for Rodby, and the last one was at Cremona in Italy, which are all 3 really good tracks.
Yeah, so 3 tracks there that maybe you wouldn't have gone to otherwise. Tell us how it was experiencing these new circuits.
It was really hard because we were going to new circuits I'd never been on before, on a kart I'd never really driven, on tyres and engine. So all of it was really hard to get around. And towards the end, I was getting the hang of it, but we didn't really get any of the results we were hoping for. But the speed was there, so it was really good.
But a good experience, I imagine. It travels around with the KZ and KZ2 European Championships and World Championships. Being in that paddock must have been a really good experience.
Yeah, witnessing all the like big awnings and drivers that are there, and just everything was on a much bigger scale, which was a lot different to where it is here. And everything was just like really professional, and it was just all amazing.
Was there anything that stood out for you as a memory from that season? I know you said you didn't get the results you wanted, but a particular track that you enjoyed, or one of the heats that you really enjoyed where you felt that your pace was really demonstrated?
I really enjoyed the last round, to be honest, because the speed was always there, and it was a really nice track to drive, and just everything was going well until the final. But yeah.
When you look back at the list of champions in that series and British drivers who have represented Great Britain, it's incredibly impressive. Charles Leclerc as being one of the drivers to have gone and won that. So great to see that you were over there doing it. And yeah, I think you did a great job representing Great Britain as well, even if you don't feel you got the results. Let's talk about Kartmasters then. This is your second year racing here.
Yes.
How was it in the first year for you, getting used to this event, because it's pretty different to anything else, isn't it?
Well, last year it was my first time doing it, and a 4-day event was quite different to what I was used to. But it all went well, to be honest. Finished third in the final, so that was nice to take away a trophy.
I'm racing with the Madcroft team as well. I have a great history here as well, with a great team in there of drivers. Must be great having that support around you.
It's a really good atmosphere in the Croc, because all the people are really nice. It's a good team, and they've helped me a lot, so I just want to say thank you to them and everything they've done for me.
And with that podium now, I think you've demonstrated you can definitely fight for the win here. How's it going so far this weekend? Do you think another podium could be on the cards possibly for you?
It's going to be really hard to get a result out of this weekend, because it's been wet and I just don't really get it around here. And it's really hard. So we had some couple of good results. I think we're 13th overall. So it's definitely still possible, but it's going to be difficult.
I think that's very much an understatement. Could easily be possible with pace like that. Let's talk about what else you're doing in the UK here this year. We very much focused on FIA karting, but how's the season been for you away from the FIA?
British it's going all right, to be honest. I think we're like top 10 in British. And then I'm also doing the Europeans in X30, and I'm fourth in that, quite really close to second, going into the last round. So this year, my first year in juniors, is going really well.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult class to learn, isn't it? Because you're sometimes racing against experience who have done that class for a long time. So I think you're doing a great job out there in Europe. Best of luck for the remainder of the season there, and for British as well, and for this weekend. I think the fact that you've got a podium, people remember those podium results for a very long time. So look forward to seeing how you can get on. I think we probably know the answer to our question of the day, but let's go for it anyway. Harry, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Finishing the podium last year.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Let's talk more about the race itself. How was it going out on the grid? You know, you do that grid walkout in front of a big crowd, and then you get going in the race, knowing that it's just the GP play on the line. How was that experience for you?
The race was a lot longer than normal.
Yeah.
Just in my head, and it wasn't the most exciting race, to be honest. Just three of us got out in front and got a gap, and obviously I finished at the back of that. Which wasn't, could have got more out of it, but yeah.
Of course, you're like many of the drivers here, you want to be here to win, but nevertheless, I imagine a proud moment to stand on that very big and impressive podium out there. Harry, thanks very much for joining us in the live lounge. Best of luck throughout the rest of the weekend, and congratulations again on what you did in FIA Karting Academy Trophy. That's been Harry Bartle. You can catch all of the interviews on the YouTube channel and social media channels, and we will be live streaming 36 hours of content on Alpha Live, so there is plenty to watch there when it comes to Kartmasters. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to the live lounge, everyone. Our next guest here, as we continue the theme of Stars of Kartmasters, is Harry Burgoyne Jr. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. Real pleasure to be back with the live lounge this year at Kartmasters in a record-breaking year, and someone hoping to become a GP plate winner this year. Having come very close is now GB4 Championship racer Harry Burgoyne Jr. Harry, welcome back to Kartmasters. I know karting isn't something that you've stepped away from entirely, doing British Karting Championships, but how's it been doing GB4, your first season of single-seater racing? How have you found that experience?
Yeah, it's very good, very hard. The level of drivers is very good this year. Yeah, it's been a good season so far for me, just learning how the car is, how it works and everything.
Obviously, it's that first step up, isn't it, into single seat. It's going on to all the circuits, Silverstone, Brands Hatch, Sonington Park. How have you found learning all the tracks and driving on those tracks where you might have watched things like F1 races, touring car races as a kid when you're first racing karting? How is it now racing on those yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, like racing at Silverstone, like only a certain amount of people get to race there in their life, so it's been a good year, I think, for like different tracks, different places and everything.
Has that been the track that stood out for you so far, would you say?
Probably, yeah. It's so long, such a big circuit and so flowy.
I imagine coming through Cops and Maggots and Beckett's for the first time must be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's really fast, that section. It's like flat out and then you're lifting off to go through Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah. Tell us how the season's gone for you so far. I know we're about halfway through or into the second half. How's it gone for you so far?
Well, it started off not too bad at Oulton Park, and then we moved on. Struggled a little bit for the next two rounds, and then Snetterton. That was a good one for me. And then the last round there, last weekend at Silverstone, that wasn't too bad. Just the last race got cancelled because of the weather.
And I know you. Last time I saw you at Silverstone, you were there on your own with a team, but you had the challenge of racing in your own on that team. Is that still the situation for you now?
Yeah, it's still a situation now, but the last round at Snetterton, we had Jeremy Fairburn. He joined, but now he's doing other stuff now. So.
And I know, although you might be for yourself, a lot of work going on behind the scenes. But tell us how it's been learning, going through all the data by yourself without a teammate. How's that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really hard, like, comparing yourself by yourself. It's like you can't really see where like you're faster and slower because it's kind of the same. It's just where you're braking later, picking up the throttle, stuff like that. But with a teammate, you can look at where they're braking, where I'm braking, where they're pressing the power and where I am.
I imagine a big challenge given the teams they have in there, really high level teams. But must be a great experience being part of the championship as a whole, GB4 championship that really is growing since only starting a couple of years back.
Yeah, it's been a nice championship, pretty chilled out, so it's been good.
Well, let's talk about your history here at Kartmasters. How many have you done now in total?
I think this is my sixth.
Okay.
Sixth Kartmasters, so.
Yeah, and how have those experiences been? I remember speaking to you out on the track as a podium finisher. Was that stand out as one of the highlights for you so far?
Probably, yeah. That was my first podium in Kartmasters. I've never had one before that. I've always struggled around here on this particular weekend, but last year we seemed to get it right.
And talk us a little bit through the race from what you remember as well. I mean, it was really close throughout the whole weekend. I remember you had a great pre-final as well. It must have felt good to have been on the podium, although I'm sure you would have wanted to take the win.
Yeah, I mean, the heats were pretty good. Got a good pre-final. Got a not bad start to the final, and then I led it with probably 4 or 5 laps, and then Brandon car came past me, and then we were fighting it out in the last lap with Gabriel Stilp.
Yeah, it was a really good race. Great one to be a part of. One people watched back several times. And in terms of this event, you've raced all around in karting. How do you find this event compared to the others? This one must be one that sticks out on the calendar for you.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest weekends of the year. It's been such a good weekend this weekend with seeing everyone here from Rotax and Xcel, because when you're doing the British, you don't really get to see people from Rotax. So it's been good, but everyone here in the racing's been good so far.
And enjoying it, yeah, so far this weekend?
Yeah.
Stepping up a class? How's that been for you?
Yeah, the seniors are really good. They're just faster, so it's going to be better. But yeah, just tough racing.
You think, I know you said with the intermediate classification, you think you might be 4th or 5th. We'll get into that when we're in the stream tomorrow and in the pre-finals, but you think you got a good chance at this weekend? As long as you're up there in the top 10, I guess you really have got a good chance.
Yeah, I think I've got a good chance. It's anybody's game out there. Such a long race, good race, hard race.
And I know you're doing British Kart Championships as well this year. Now you're in single seaters. Before we go on a question of the day, has your outlook on karting or your approach on when you come to karting changed at all, or has it been just exactly the same? You found it maybe even more intense because a bit of a different format to what you're used to?
I've not really changed. I've just stayed the same all the way through.
Yeah, perfect stuff. Well, let's go to our question of the day then, which is, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory? Now, you did touch on the podium finish you had there. I'm sure that might stand out as one of the best, but would you say that's your favourite memory at Kartmasters?
Yeah, probably last year after a good weekend and the nice weather and everything. So probably last year was a good week.
How did it feel standing up on the podium? We get a big audience down there. How did that feel?
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. Think we can be back there this year?
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, best of luck for the rest of the GB4 season. Really wish you all the best. Great to see you racing in it. And thank you for joining us in the live lounge.
No bother.
That's been Harry Burgoyne Jr. Up here in the live lounge. You can catch all our interviews throughout the day. We have over 15, so plenty to go and watch throughout the day of Stars of Kartmasters, and live stream will be going all weekend on Alpha Live. Well, welcome everyone to this latest segment from our live lounge here at Kartmasters, where we are running with the theme Stars of Kartmasters, and we have lots of guests to help cover that off. One of them sat right next to me. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. Sat next to me, privateer racer here for the first time, not a PF, regular driver here, but at Kartmasters for the first time, Ellis Bell. Ellis, thank you very much for joining us. How have you been enjoying the weekend so far?
I think it's been quite an up and down weekend, but I mean, we've pulled through. I mean, practice was good yesterday, on Thursday, and on Friday we had some good heats. Qualifying didn't go as we planned yesterday, but we made it up. And today we haven't had the best of starts. We didn't get out for qualifying due to the kart, but yeah, we're making our way through the heats. So.
And you race here quite a lot at PF International, don't you? Tell us how it's been racing at the club and how that's helped you prepare for British Championships this year.
Well, I mean, this is one of the best tracks in the world, in Britain. I mean, it's got every corner you could think of. It's got chicanes, it's got hairpins, it's got fast flow corners, it's got tight, slow corners. So, I mean, it prepares you for anything you need to come up against. And then when you're racing against people, like, it just gives you good practice for what you need to do in the British. And just helps you suss things out.
Yeah, it's where everyone comes, isn't it? It's almost like a British Championship round every time you race here at Trent Valley Kart Club. Would you say that?
Yeah, I mean, it is very popular, but the track does have a very good reputation. I don't see why it shouldn't, so it is a very good track.
You mentioned their British Championships. You're racing that for the first time this year. Somewhere would have seen Ellis, if you're a regular viewer of Paddock Live, you would have seen him on the Paddock Show. You're racing in that for the first time. Tell us how you've been finding it so far.
I mean, we compared to British, we didn't have a very good round. We just had problems with the car, and we ended up not having a very good round. But we went to JAG. We were very fast, top 5 pace-wise, and we ended up finishing 7th in the final. Could have got a little bit higher, however, it got wet, so we just set it up for the wet, and it dried very quickly.
And are you looking forward to the remaining rounds of British Championships as well?
Yeah.
I know you've got your home race coming up as well.
Yes.
Looking forward to that?
Yes, I think we'll have some very decent pace for that call. We've had a lot of laps around there, and I think all those laps will pay off.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Let's come back to Kartmasters then. It is your first time doing this event. How have you found getting used to the experience of it? Because it is a completely unique experience, isn't it, away from British Championships and club racing?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one event to look out for in Britain, it's this. I mean, people from all over the world will come just to do this race. I mean, it is a very good experience because you get to race against like European drivers, drivers you've raced against before, like people at the top of their game, and it just it gives you a very good experience. And I think this is the best it will get. This race.
And you're very much in a European class there in Intermax as well. It's very, very competitive in that class, isn't it? With drivers who have competed all around Europe as well and racing here at Kartmasters.
Yeah, I mean, we've got people like Ashcroft who've got a couple of European championships and loads of wins. You've got Cole, who dominated the championship in Honda last year. Alba, who's also very good. And there's just loads of other ones that are very, very fast, and they're all here.
And you raced as a cadet as well. How long have you been racing now overall?
Well, I started in 2019, so that should be 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. And was Kartmasters something you watched on live streams? I know you mentioned before we started the interview that you saw it last year. Was it something that you enjoyed watching and then think, I'd love to go and race in that one day?
Yes, I've watched that Brandon Kart race multiple times, over and over again.
So it's created some very inspirational performances, isn't it? And that's something that I think inspired you in the last performance you put in as well. We'll come to that question, shall we? Which is our question of the day. And it is, what is your favourite Kartmasters memory? Of course, this is your first year, but I think it's fair to say you've already created a memory out there that you'll remember for a long time. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, going off a bad qualifying, we were starting very, very last on the grid, and we came from very last on the first lap in the pouring rain, and we gained 20 places on track, finishing 13th on track by the end of the race.
Absolutely fantastic. There was definitely a bit of Brandon Carr involved in that, albeit this time you were out there in the wet conditions as well. I know qualifying didn't go so well for you, but I think Brandon proved anything can happen in Kartmasters. What's your goal for this weekend? What was it coming into the weekend?
Top 10 definitely, and depending on if we've got the pace, maybe even top 8.
Perfect.
We just need to see how quick we are.
And the experience of it all, how have you found it? Completely different to anything you've done, I'm sure. Is it being in the paddock? It must be an amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are here that I haven't really seen before. Like there's Irish teams, there's teams from Dubai, there's teams from Italy. I mean, when you come here on a clubby, loads of people come to the clubbies, but you don't see like teams from all over the world that come. The only teams from all over the world, they just come to do this event. That's how well known it is.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I think that's a really good note to end on. Thank you very much, Ellis Bell. Privateer as well, taking it to the big teams. Best of luck. We're all rooting for you. Thank you very much for joining us up in Live Lounge. That's been Ellis Bell, as he said, came through from the back to 13th. So wherever he's starting on Grand Prix Sunday, he will be one to watch. You can watch all the other interviews in Live Lounge on the YouTube channel and social media, and also the live stream paddock shows will be on the Alpha Live YouTube channel. Well, we're coming towards the final interviews at the Live Lounge here on Saturday at Kartmasters. We've been running with the theme Stars of Kartmasters. We've had plenty of them throughout the day. Someone who has commentated on many stars of Kartmasters and definitely has to go down as one himself as the voice of the event. Henry Beaudette, thank you very much for joining me after talking for 2 days of complete racing here. It's been a busy couple of days.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Yeah, it's a bit strange to say I'm the voice of Kartmasters. I realised this year I've been doing this event since 2008. It was only in 2014 that you did it for me because I was away. That's the only event I missed. So I think that makes it my 15th Kartmasters.
Wow.
The event has changed it's always been one of the premier events. Trent Valley Kart Club have always pushed the boat out. It's a very sort of maybe a trite thing to say, but it's true. It gets bigger and better every year. The club always tries something new. It didn't always necessarily work, but you know, they always are trying something new. Now the live streaming, always trying something new, and I'm just along for the ride and try to bring the excitement of the event to the audience. Originally, it was the audience just here at the circuit, and then I'm thinking, was it 2013 possibly?
Yeah.
Where
I believe it was.
they started doing like a live stream just with the circuit
Security,
cameras. And then you did it in 2014. Then 2015, I think RGMMC came in, and it was the first live stream. And then it's been, you know, Alpha Live have taken over. It just got bigger and better every year. And now this year, 30 hours of live coverage. You know, outstanding. It really, and the viewing figures. The viewing figures that you get just show how much this event resonates, not just in the UK, but around the world.
Yeah, and the interaction as well, isn't it, with the fans?
You know, anyone who knows me, you know that I try and do the most professional job I can for the racers, but also the one thing that I've always said is that karting is supposed to be fun. You know, you spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of time, but this is a fun sport, and so I try to make it. And so commentator with you, commentator with Alex Goldschmidt, with Charles Draycott, and now I've had Anthony for the last 3-4 years doing it. You try and make it fun. If you're having fun on commentary, then the people are having fun at home. If you get all the racing results right and get the excitement and the drama, but then, you know, bring a bit of personality in. We got the camera in the commentary box this year, which, and again, you're having a laugh and a joke with it, but it allows you to sort of to look the viewer straight in the eye and communicate directly with people who are watching it on their screen around the world, and sort of, you know, say hi to them and say thank you to them and look them in the eye and say thank you, and make them feel part of the show, because it's a show. It's sport, but it is entertainment.
With it being your 15th year, I think this is the perfect time for us to do an interview like this. You've commentated on many a driver some of them have gone on to race in Formula E and go and win that, have had great drives here. I know we had one of the best races last year with Brandon Carr coming from the back to come through and win.
Got to be ranked up there as one of my favourites.
What stand out as the others? Because you've been here since 2008 doing this. Only the 2014 one you missed, where Kean Jewis came from pit lane to win. What stand out as some of your favourite ones during that time?
The first year, you know, for the first year, 2008, I was supposed to do it in 2007. Nigel had asked me, but I was just starting out in commentary, but I'd already got something else going on, family stuff and things like that, and I didn't sort of really understand what I was missing. 2008, that first year, George Russell won his first GP in Cadet WTP. Alex Albon won in KF3. That was the first year of KF3. So JICA and ICA had just finished, and KF2 and KF3 had just come in. So to see, and KF3 that year was, the first couple of years of KF3 was absolutely outrageously good. Alex Albon won that race. One of the best races I've ever seen, 2009, the second in KF3, Jake Dennis. There was 28 of them on the grid. And in the pre-final, Jake had a breakdown, and so he started from the back. And I mean, this was KF3. It was the likes of Barnacote. It was the likes of Ash Sutton. It was the likes of Jordan King eventually won. Jake Dennis. It was the first year of the Racing Steps Foundation. And he came from the back to finish second. And I remember his dad, Steve, because I used to commentate, but there was no commentary box. I would commentate from the balcony, just outside the other side of this camera, directly over pit lane. And of course, every time the carts come out of the demi grid, I get a face full. So at the end of it, I'm like this. But that race, and I remember Steve Dennis was standing just below me. And he was jumping down. He was kept shouting, "The Magic Man, the Magic Man, the Magic Man!" And Jake King from 28th to second. That race was good. 2012 Minimax final in the wet. Philip Rawson won. That was a classic race as well. Jordan Baines, I make fun of Jordan Baines all the time, but he passed over 200 drivers during Kartmasters in about 2010. He was in Minimax. It was a full grid, and he started last and then got up to first, then start last again, and then got up to the lead, and then he would, in the middle of the race, he would spin or get hit off, and then he would have to come back. And we calculated, me and his dad, he passed 200 drivers over the 3 days.
Wow. And the first year the stream came in, 2013, there was a classic one in there, wasn't there? With one of the cadets where someone came from third to first.
Honda cadet. So I think it was maybe... Was it 2013 or 2015?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Where Rory Hudson.
That was it.
So it was 2012. You're right. Rory Hudson came out of the final corner fourth and crossed the line first. And that was great. And of course, you had the little sort of like security cam. But at the time, it was fantastic. You know, I couldn't believe it. I had to learn because I used to standing outside and just looking at the whole circuit. I had to train myself just commentate on what you're looking at on the screen because that's what made sense to the viewers. But yeah, fourth to first, the final straight, Rory Hudson winning Honda Cadet. That was really
good. I had to watch that one in preparation for doing it for the first time.
Oh, right,
Similar to yourself, I was like, what am I walking into here? Because I never got the opportunity to race Kartmasters. Let's move a little bit closer to the present time. What other ones have stood out for you? I know we've gone through some great Rotax and X30 races. And cadet races as well.
I mean, the KF classes were always really good. When we had OK as well, the Premier CIK class of kart, we haven't always had the biggest numbers. We don't always run them, but when we do have them, it elevates the event just that little bit more because the very best drivers always come into it. I mean, Ben Barnacote winning in 2017, I think Mark Rose still sends me, and the crowd have gone radio rental, and he still sends me that clip where I think there was Hodgson, Litchfield, Danny Curl, Barnacote, all piling into the Bobby Game corner together on the last lap. Barnacote coming out and winning. I was with Alex Goldschmidt when Barnacote won his record-breaking 7th. That was a special moment as well. Because he's such a nice lad. So that was a really, really good thing. And being Welsh, Jordan Chamberlain winning the KF2, that was a special moment as well. Because not often that us Welsh get to say we're champions at something in motorsport, and that was a good moment.
Yeah. And this year has a lot to live up to, I guess, doesn't it? First wet race, you said, from 2012.
Yeah, we've had a couple of damp days, but today, that was the worst day since 2012, and in 2012 I was on the balcony for that. So I'm trying to have my notes in the commentary box, keeping it on the table and stop it blowing away, getting soaking wet. That was a crazy day. Today has been there. Hopefully tomorrow. I think tomorrow is supposed to be dry. But what it does do is that Kartmasters is known for the slipstreaming racing, the last gasp efforts. But then today we got to show how skilled the drivers are in the wet when the track is flooded. And again, the great work by Alpha Live, the cameras, to show the drivers. You can see the whites of their eyes. You can see them in the karts. It gives myself and Anthony a chance to sort of tell the viewers just how talented these young men and women are. That's really special. Other things were, one year, the Kartmasters was sponsored by a local Peugeot Citroën dealership. And the raffle prize was, I think it was like a Citroën C2, a brand new car. And all the drivers were entered into it, cadet up to the seniors. Ollie Morris Jones won it.
Oh, right, yeah.
He won, and it was worth £7,000.
Yeah.
And it was in the paddock, and it was a brand new like Peugeot, Citroën C2 or something like that, red. I remember it being red. Things like that, Trent Valley Kart was like, oh, you know what? Well, why not give away a car? Why not do something different? And remind me, I mean, Anthony was in here earlier, the wave. Last year, the wave. Callum Bradshaw catching Kai Hunter on the last lap.
Yes, of course.
And Kai Hunter turned round, Callum Bradshaw goes, hello, remember me? That was really, really special, as well. That, again, little memories like that.
I mean, we could go on all day as two commentators.
Yeah,
I know one thing I do want to touch on this. I imagine you prepare. I know you prepare for a long time for this, having been in contact with you and the team months in advance for this. One thing I do want to touch on with that is one of the things you have been preparing for is the Kartmasters winners, to get them in the paddock. I know you've been a big part of getting that together.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm looking at the Kartmasters champions that are here working at the event, and the Kartmasters champions that have messaged me to say, look, we're coming tomorrow. I think that during the lunch break tomorrow on Sunday, we're going to have 42 former champion. I've just seen Ollie Hodgson. He's not here tomorrow, so that'll be 43. But I think we're going to get 42, including the only female to ever win Kartmasters, Gabby Weyer. She hasn't been in a karting paddock for 5 or 6 years.
Is that WTP or something?
WTP. The year, I think 2 years after George Russell, 3 years after George Russell won it in WTP, Gabby Weyer won it. Gabby's partner messaged me, and Gabby will be here tomorrow as well. It'd be great to see people like Sam Pooley, who hasn't been here since 2014, 2013, 2014.
2014 mini match.
Things like that. So we're going to have, on the podium, we're going to have the biggest photograph that we've ever had of former and current Kartmaster champions, over 40 of them.
Wow, and a lot of work has gone into that, and it will be amazing when we see it all put together. We must end now with our question of the day.
Okay.
This is going to be very hard for you to answer, so I've given you a bit of time, but what is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Favourite Kartmasters memory? I've got to pick one. This might sound a little bit strange. There was a lad called Alex Toth-Jones.
I remember that.
And he won. Nigel Edwards gave him driver of the day. He was a privateer, and he had just excelled on that given day. And the look on his face and the look he gave his dad, I mean, it gets me down, because that was the moment between a father and a son who loved the sport. There was no sort of dreams of being a Formula One star or anything like that. It was just they loved that sport. They had done really well at the biggest, and they'd been rewarded when they weren't expecting it. Not for a win. That 10th place finish, or whatever it was, the look that Alex that they gave each other, it honestly ignited your heart, and that sums up karting. That's why I love karting so much, and that's what gets me. And there's so many, but from a parent's point of view, from a sporting point of view, the look that a father or a mother gives their son or daughter when they've done well at the sport they love, at an event they love, that for me, it trumps all else. The winners are there on record forever, but those little memories that I'm just fortunate enough to be a small part of will stick with me forever.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what you mean there. And on behalf of everyone on the other side of that camera, thanks for all you've done for the event and will continue to do. It's been a massive part of it.
Thank you very much, Chris.
We really do appreciate it. So that's been Henry Beaudette in the live lounge. And you can catch all the interviews on the YouTube channel, social media channel. Don't forget, we're going to be streaming all throughout Sunday on the Alpha Live channels. I will be out there on the grid. I won't be alone. Henry and DJ will be in the commentary box, as always, to cover everything. We will see you there. So hello everyone, welcome to the latest edition of the live lounge here from Kartmasters, the British Kart Grand Prix, well and truly underway, and we are well underway with our interviews as well. Thank you for joining us. My name's Chris McCarthy. I am your host throughout the day, and joining me now, someone who returns to the Kartmasters paddock after a few years away, Rashan Chigorimbo. Rashan, welcome back to Kartmasters. Little bit tricky conditions out there. Great to have you back. You're racing Senior X30 with Fusion this year. It's been a few years since you've been here though, so tell us what it was that influenced the decision to come back this year.
I think I've been out of racing for 3 years now, and I thought, why not come back to Kartmasters, since that's the biggest event in the UK during the year. So I thought, why not come back and then try, see if I still got it in me to do well in a go-kart. It's been a very long time. And I think I'm slowly adapting and getting back into it. Taking me a bit longer than I would like, but I'm slowly getting there.
I mean, you've given yourself probably the toughest challenge in British karting, arguably one of the toughest in European karting. The grid out there, hugely competitive, isn't it? Just tell us how it's been jumping straight back into Kartmasters.
Well, I feel like I've come and jumped in right into the deep end, because you've got people like Gus Lawrence, #1. You've got Harry Platten, GP plate. You've also got other drivers like Sam Shaw, who's seeded numbers. You've got PF plate, Marcus Littlewood.
Yeah.
So everyone who's here this weekend is a top driver. So for me to come back and jump straight into the deep end, it's been challenging, but it's also showing me that as a driver how good I am for me to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah. And tell us what you've been doing then since you stepped away from karting. What have you been up to?
So I did take a year's break to focus on schoolwork, but after that, I've been racing and testing in Fiesta Juniors. So it's a step up from karting.
And how's that been going for you?
So far, it's been going all right. I'm doing okay in the championship. Wouldn't say the best because there's a bit of driving and me, but there's always ways you can improve. So I think as I've grown up and matured a bit more, I've found ways where I can improve in my driving, especially.
Yeah, it must be great being out there. I'm sure there's probably drivers in Fiesta Juniors that you might recognise from karting as well.
There's one, Luke Hilton, who is a name I'm familiar with.
Yeah, good stuff. And tell us the difference then from doing the Fiesta Juniors, coming back to this. Completely, obviously different, but I imagine a lot more driving in a karting weekend, isn't it?
There is a lot more driving, even during the race. I think over the last 2 days, so yesterday's heats and today's heats, I've done a lot more overtaking and driving at racecraft compared to in a car race. I think that's just because in a kart race, it's so close and action-packed, you never know what's going to happen. So car racing is where you want to be.
Yeah, and of course, our theme this year is Stars of Kartmasters. You're one of many who have jumped up into cars, but I want to take you back to your time racing in Kartmasters previous to this. Tell us the memories you have from racing in this event.
I've got a lot of memories from racing from Kartmasters. I think this is my coming up to 10th time doing Kartmasters now, so I've been doing it for quite a long time. I remember the first time I came to Kartmasters, I was quite overwhelmed at how big it was. I didn't make it to the A final, which I was a bit disappointed in, but I was me back in cadets. But after the second year trying, I made it through to the A final, and I slowly progressed forward up along the grid until 2020, which was my last Kartmasters race, where I started last due to a mechanical failure, came through the grid, and unfortunately didn't finish the race due to a mechanical failure. But I think it's shown that over the years how much I've grown as Kartmasters has grown as well.
So you've kind of grown with the event as it's expanded broadcast-wise and numbers-wise and paddock-wise. I guess you grew with the event a little bit.
I think I have, yeah. I think it's also great because as I've grown, I've changed so much personality-wise, driving-wise, that I think I've become a better driver in total.
And this is a very unique event. We've had many guests in, Alice, Powell, Ron Meadows, and they all agree this is a very unique event. You don't really get it in the world of car racing, that one-off to go for the GP play. How does that help develop you as a driver?
I think because Kartmasters is a one-off event that everyone wants to win, so you really have to give it your all, and in giving it all, it shows you how much potential we've got. Like, this weekend, I found potential I didn't know I have. Like, I've come straight into the deep end, and on Friday practice, I was 4 seconds off, but come Saturday qualifying, I found 3 seconds just from being dialed back into a kart and having a good team behind me, coaching me and getting me back into the flow of racing.
Yeah, you're certainly with a good team in Fusion Motorsport. I'm sure they've done a great job for you. Well, we speak a little bit about memories there. Our question of the day, which we're asking all our guests, Rashan, is what is your favourite Kartmasters memory?
Mine's a bit of a funny one because it is the 2020 Kartmasters where I didn't finish the race, but mine is starting from the last row of the Junior X30 grid, coming through to about 4th or 5th place, right before I crashed out the race. But that's my favourite memory just because it shows me how good of a driver I can be when I put my mind to it. For me to come through the grid, I still have about 5 minutes left to battle the front, but unfortunately I didn't finish the race. But that just shows what can happen at Kartmasters. Anything can happen.
A race you must enjoy watching back, I imagine.
Yeah. I watch it back until I crash, and after I crash, I just turn off the video. But I quite enjoy watching it.
Well, best of luck for the rest of the weekend, rest of the season of Fiesta Juniors. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us right now.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you. Great to have you back at the event, as it is with many drivers, and we'll be speaking to many of those. Throughout the day, you can watch all the Live Lounge interviews on the YouTube channel, and all the paddock shows and live streams are available on the Alpha Live YouTube channel. Welcome to our 22nd and final interview here from the Live Lounge at Kartmasters. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy, and we have to end with the person who really cannot be found when the racing is going on because he's so busy on the circuit, race director Nigel Edwards. Thank you very much for joining us, Nigel. I know it's been a really long day out there, tough day for all your marshals and all the team. First full wet day, Henry reckons, since 2012. So as well as difficult conditions for the drivers, incredibly tough on the team, but it seems like the event has run really, really smooth throughout the weekend.
Yeah, fantastic. No, we're really happy with the day, and you know, I feel like actually saying to the drivers as well, you know, this morning and up to about 2 or 3 o'clock, the heavens opened. It was a horrendous day.
Yeah.
It was like mid-October or November, and to be fair, you know, thank you drivers, because you made a fantastic job. They got on with what they needed to get on, which is great.
Yeah.
The marshalling team and everything, as you know, we've built, you know, a strong team behind us, and that works really well as well. That you know, that's part of the deal, isn't it? You know, it makes it feel so much smoother from the outside. But no, it was a tough day for everybody this morning, and it's never easy when the weather's like that, a bit cold, and it was wet everywhere. So mistakes can happen, and you know, incidents can happen. But I say no, thank you drivers. I think you did a great job today. So. There was some great racing as well. A couple of, you know, the finals, the heats today are going to show that the finals are, wow, we need to be ready, I think, because they're going to be great. But no, tough day, but thanks to everybody, we got through it.
Well, before we talk about that racing, I do just want to touch on the marshals, because we have a marshal of the event this year, which will be announced out on the podium tomorrow in the lunch break. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, certainly whoever wins is going to be deserved. They all deserve to be recognised, but it's a nice addition there.
For sure. Glenn Griffiths is our chief marshal. He's done a great job in pulling the team together. But you know, the teamwork, you know, it's part and parcel of what we want to do here. And it's the concept that we have at Trent Valley. You know, we want it to be enjoyable for everybody that comes. Hopefully the marshals do enjoy it. I know they have to work hard out there. And I think we ended up with some really nice prizes, and one of them will be a signed cap from one of the Formula One guys. So we just thought that'd be a nice little touch to give it to, we'll call it the marshal of the day. You know, it's going to be a little bit in the hat and pick. So if you don't win it, Marshall, don't worry about it, because it's, you know, with plenty more coming, I'm sure, later in the year. But it's a nice little touch, because, you know, they work hard, you know how it goes. And, you know, safety is obviously key important, you know, and they do a good job there. The other thing which perhaps people don't quite realise, although maybe from the outside when people come and talk to me, they've never been here, wow, how slick is, you know, it all just seems to keep going and keep flowing. But that's part and parcel to the marshals and the incident marshals, you know, clearing the track, getting it ready, timetable to run to. And I think we've got a head in gear now over the years of timetables and people working to it. So. No, credit to all the marshals. Whoever wins that prize, don't get upset the rest of you, because it is a bit of a one-off, but yeah, just a bit of an accolade to those guys.
And you mentioned there about a Formula One driver. I hope I'm not giving away any surprises here, but we did get a lovely message from George Russell. I mean, we've got the 2 drivers, British drivers at Mercedes, 2 winners from this event as well. How proud does it make you feel when you've got someone like George Russell, who you would have seen race here when he won in Mini-Max and in the cadet classes? Now he's up there doing Formula One. And we've got people like Ollie Behrman on the cusp of going in as well.
No, fantastic. We've got some great guys coming through, you know, and I mean, you know, I know you commentate on the F3, and people don't realise, you know, you probably think F3, you know, 20 drivers on the grid, what the hell? But believe me, you know, to get to that level is immense. So anybody that gets there, that's been with us karting, you know, there's plenty of other guys around as well who do, you know, touring cars for us, you know, Sutton and people like that, you know. It is fantastic, and it's great to see that they've come here, that you'll see them on the trophies downstairs, you know, Kartmasters trophies, you know, their names will be there. You know, George has been on there a few times, Louise has been on there, I think it was back in '96, but nevertheless, his name's there. I've done a little bit recently with FIA on race director stuff, and for the first time ever, we've got karting included in it. And actually, Tim Schenkinen, the Australian sort of superhero from many years back, but he does a lot of work for FIA and race directors. When I came, he said, my God, karting, this is fantastic. I hope everybody realises where all our Formula One stars come from. It's karting. So listen to this guy, like, and I thought, wow, there's actually people out there who get it, you know, get it. And it's fantastic, isn't it? You know, and it's just a little, you know, you have a little chuckle and a smile every time you see the guys or they get interviewed. And I just wish they'd mention karting a little bit more, because they do move away from it a little bit, but I do get it. But no, George has always been great for us. He's done a little promo for us before. You know, and it is great, isn't it? It just adds that little bit more weight to the event. And I think, you know, for the young kids that are around and everything, like, you know, you've got to think,
wow, you know, it could be me. It could be me. You know, it's going to be tough, guys, but yeah, it could be you. It could be.
One thing I got to see as well when I did do the FIA karting was the team you have here at Trent Valley very much is almost moved across, isn't it, to do that event because of how good and how slick this event is, how good they are at the job, how much work they put in.
Yep.
It's a great team that you have over with the FIA stuff and all the international events that you do with like Rotax, but very much a huge portion of that team is
I think that is the ethos. Yeah, that's the ethos. You know, that's how I see a good race meeting should run. So to try and bring that here and get our people to follow suit, which they have done, for me, that's the only way to do it. You know, it really is. And I'm proud that they've been able to adapt to that as well, because we have a big disparity in England in karting. You know, I'm not decrying anybody because we're very lucky we've got what we've got here at PF International, but it is a bit of a balance. But when you come here, we want it to be right, and a little bit like, I think it was actually last year's Kartmasters, Derek Warwick's lad got kicked off the grid.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't care. He says, I know what I'm doing, I know what I've got to do, and I know when I've got to do it, and that's it. And if I don't do it, I know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I thought, well, again, that about sums it up, really. And again, it's not about making people unhappy or whatever. It's trying to have a nice, even playing field and do it in a professional way. Hopefully, when people come to Trent Valley, that's the ethos that we have and want to try and promote.
And you mentioned about the racing. It's been fantastic. The viewer numbers that we have got up there reflecting that.
Brilliant.
And I don't think there's a class out there where there's someone that's got this in the bag.
Absolutely,
absolutely. How's it been watching it out there?
No, I think you're dead right. You know, there's some good guys out there. I mean, there's some PF plate guys in several classes, GP guys, 0 plate guys, number 1 plate guys. There's a real mixture in there, and I think it's going to be a bit topsy-turvy, but there's certainly going to be some cracking race. I mean, it's been really close, even in the bad conditions today. But yesterday, there was some hard racing, you know what I mean? It was like, it almost felt like it was a final at that point, you know, but it was hard and fair, so, you know, that's what we're about. So, really good, and, big day Sunday.
Yeah. And Jess, just a couple more questions before we wrap up then. We had Aiva who's racing with Dan Holland from Australia, and she touched on how when she came into the paddock, she did not expect it to be, one, so big, and two, so many nations involved. So many nationalities, almost 30, I think.
Yeah, no, we've done really well. I think a little
becoming a European event.
No, it's nice, and they want to come and do Kartmasters as well, you know, and get that Grand Prix title as well, which is, you know, not to be sniffed at. It's not something you're going to get every day, which is great. I think there is a great mix there. I think our sort of toe in the water with the Euro Rotax a little bit later in the year has encouraged a few people to come as well, so I think that's good. You know, so... But yeah, I think 307 entries. Okay, we're going to be around 300. That's an absolute record for Kartmasters. So the paddock will be full.
Yeah, and you mentioned about Formula 3 driver. We've got On Racing here, and Michael Shin as well. So absolutely fantastic. And the classes out there, it's going to be close, isn't it? Any that stick out for you in particular?
No names, no pack drill.
In terms of classes, hard to pick, isn't it?
Absolutely.
They're all going to be going down to the wire.
They're going to be good.
Well, it's fantastic to have you in, Nigel. We must end with our question of the day. Very hard one for you. But what is your favourite memory from Kartmasters?
Oh, my goodness. We had a little talk just before we started the interview. I think perhaps 2 of them. One was Keir Jewis in Hondas when he came from the back of the grid to win.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think everybody was just like blown away. You know, you just couldn't believe that on a Grand Prix race like that, with the quality of people on the track, he got from 36 to the front to win it, which was brilliant. But the one that sort of stands out, and I know we mentioned we can't quite tip the year, but when Ben Barnicoat was racing here, you know, and he's got some GP titles to his name, quite a few. And I think he'd done his cars for a little bit, you know, he'd been with the F3 team, and he came back and it was like, not quite a swan song, but I'm going to show you guys. And he ended up, and I can remember going down to the last 2 corners, basically, and I think he was in 5th spot. It's a little bit out of sight at the bottom, so the grandstand and people couldn't quite see. You could just see the heads behind the barriers. He came around the corner, and when he came across the finish line, he was first, and nobody could believe that. Like there was 4 people. Whether I'm not saying that that's probably, but there was certainly a little bit of a schmozzle went on, and we're not quite sure. But Ben came over the line. The grandstand just absolutely erupted.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's something that I'd like to see more of. Karting can be, you know, it can be a little bit individual. Yeah, I know we've got some teams and that, but I just love, you know, like a grandstand to just completely erupt when, you know, a karter went across the line. So for me, that was special.
It's the PF Raw, because I remember it from Key and Jewis when I was commentating here. I remember with Brandon Carr last year. Yeah, it's going to be roaring tomorrow, isn't it?
It is.
There's going to be some of those special moments. You have to join us to watch it all. Live coverage throughout the whole day, including stuff on. I'll be out there on the grid as well. I won't be alone. I'll have an F1 Junior with me. Make sure you tune in from it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. We'll kick off first thing tomorrow with the pre-finals. Thank you, Nigel, for joining us. Thank you to you and the whole team. Thank you for watching. Do check out all the streams over on Alpha Live.